Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the stream. Welcome, Tim. Welcome, Woo Tyler.
Hello.
Woot. It didn't kick me out that time, so I guess that's good. Today we are talking about the existence of evil, whether evil exists as an independent intelligence with the ability for causation, basically the ability to make things happen, or if it's just an abstract concept for the complete lack of good, moral goodness as we know it. Joining me today is Tim Allen 1337 and Holly Woot, also Tyler.
Hi.
All right, fellas, let's get into this. Tim, what do you think? How does evil exist? Do you think of evil? Do you believe in the devil? Do you believe in demons? Do you believe that we can be influenced from the outside by an intelligence that's not our own?
By an intelligence that's not our own?
Tim, do you influence people?
Are you an influencer?
No, so I think there is... I kind of think people are who they are, right? Because you have psychopathy, right? You've got psychopaths. You've got people who are just naturally good, and you're like, wow, that's a really good person. And I think everything's kind of a bell curve. This topic really interests me because I don't find myself in general to be an incredibly religious person. I think morality is kind of baked into people's DNA. And I think there are inherently the term that you're using, evil, but I think they're just kind of void of consciousness. And then because the bell curve exists, right? The person who is that evil person, I think on the other side of that bell curve, you've got that person who's on the other side of it, who thinks about everybody first, right? They're the people pleaser, they're all that kind of thing.
Right.
So,
now, you think that that's genetic? You don't think that that's learned behavior? Do you think that that's just inherent to some people and not inherent to others?
I think it's both. I think nature is probably stronger than nurture, but both play into somebody. So I have a sister, and we grew up in the same household, and she is a very different person than I am. And so her nature is very different than my nature, and our nurture was very similar. And it took us a long time to be able to kind of rectify that and figure out how to communicate together, because we're so very different people and our life experiences needed to kind of go out in the world before we could really kind of figure out a way to communicate with each other, if that makes sense.
Right. Yeah, I do. That makes sense.
And so I don't really ascribe a lot of religion to it, even though people can find that, right? If you've got a certain nature and you don't like that about yourself, you don't like the nature that you were born with, and your nurture didn't help you, and you crash out, whatever, you're at the end of it. And a lot of people go to whatever religion to figure out, okay, so this is where I can find some sort of consciousness or conscience or ethics or whatever the case is, whatever
Structure, maybe.
Structure, yeah, whatever you're
Right.
lacking. But in general, I think there's a huge bell curve, right? The nicest person you've ever met insists that there is a horrible person that you either have or haven't met. And, you know, yin and yang, all that kind of thing. So I know we're probably really talking more about religion here, but I think when we're talking about evil, I think you're kind of born with it a little bit.
Right. I guess. Right. Yeah, that's it. And I think people automatically conflate morals, morality, and religion when they're not necessarily. Obviously, they're interconnected because most religions, I mean, that's kind of basically what they are, is a moral structure. But yeah, as far as the existence of evil, that I guess that would be the question. If it's a tendency, or if it's just a lack of that conscience, that thing that tells you, no, this is wrong. Because like you said, you have psychopathy. You have sociopaths who don't.
So we have to define what evil is, right? Is
Right,
that the first part of this?
That's
I think
trying
that's
to.
where religion kind of played its place for a lot of people, is it defined what evil was. There was, a lot of people don't have all the answers, and a lot of people lack that self-awareness to kind of come up with their own opinions on. Religion kind of provides that, that guiding the sheep type of building blocks and their version of what is evil is very much the perspective of that religion, right? So the nature of our culture at any time was really based around that religion aspect that, a lot of people, weekly, daily, it was just there. And so our ideas of what evil is really comes from like those type of relationships. And, your relationship with how church was for you was probably going to dictate what you look at as good and bad. If you travel over the type of the world, all over the types of the world, what's considered bad in India, is considered. Sorry, flip this. What's considered bad here in America really isn't considered that bad in India. While vice versa, you can get away with different things in different places. It's just based off of that core building block.
Okay, now, for you, what is that? Your impression? Do you believe in evil, or do you just believe in a lack of good?
I think
Absence of good.
Yeah, I don't think there's really either. I think it's just choices with perspective on how you can do things. If you don't have the perspective to know that you're doing right or wrong, is it inherently evil? Is a child picking up a bottle and throwing it at your head evil if they don't know what they're doing is wrong? I would say no. I mean, they just haven't hit that point in their life where they can really digest it. And for some people in life, they'll never really hit that point where they can actually recognize what they're doing is right or wrong. We'll see like psychopaths, right? People who are truly just completely disconnected from the idea of what they're doing. I think there's a history of that everywhere, but it's how we define it, right? To some people, that's just normal behavior, but it is destructive to the culture.
Right.
So it's not so much that it's just evil; it's just with perspective, it's the wrong choice. And then we use the term evil and kind of apply it as like a lesson that we can pass on to the next generation. Is like a very simple big bad.
Right. Yeah, this is bad. This is good. Yeah, that kind of gets into objective morality. Go ahead, Tim.
So I think Tyler brings up a really interesting point, which hopefully this doesn't dive too deep into politics, but one person's terrorist is another person's freedom fighter, right?
Mm-hmm. Oh, believe me.
Yeah. Right. So I think that's exactly what you're kind of dancing around there. Mm-hmm. And I have such a tough time figuring that out, right? If we're talking about evil and trying to even define evil, right? So and forgive me because I'm a nerd, I've been watching Deep Space Nine, Star Trek. And for those that are familiar, one of the main characters is a freedom fighter who is a terrorist, and they are fighting against this one group of people. And then those people begin to be oppressed. And then they look towards that main character to go, hey, so remember when you did all those terrible things to us? Can you help us, teach us that so we can be non-oppressed anymore? And so I've actually really been thinking about this. Yeah. So when you have been bringing this up through your Discord and stuff, I've actually really been thinking about this. I haven't been taking notes, and I'm an emotional person and communicator. You know that about me.
Yes,
but
I do.
It's really spurred those thoughts in my mind about, morality and what's evil and what's not. And, I think a lot of people, especially in our nation, we all live in America here. We get to the pearly gates, and what is, we all get judged for what and how and all that kind of stuff. And who is the arbiter of all of that? And it's really difficult because if you're on one side of it, and then all of a sudden, man, you're on the other side, one person's freedom fighters, another person's terrorists.
Right.
And that is hard to wrap your head around. And trying to put religion around that too makes it even harder, especially if you've ever read the Bible.
So I got to tell a story real quick. This is like, God, I was 19, right? Just got to Iraq.
So
I was
2 years ago.
Come on, son. Almost 40. I know I look good. Come on.
You were almost
So-
40?
Yeah.
I would have not believed. I didn't see that coming.
I need to lose weight.
Get a good barber too. You know, they can take years off. That's really what it is. I got a kid. Before we go, this kid texted me. He's like, I'm about to go on vacation. Can I book you a haircut so I can get some extra before I go? And I was like, yeah, dude. Yes. Walked in there. I was like, you're going somewhere. No one's ever asked me if I wanted a haircut like that. But anyways. All right. So I was, I'm in Iraq, just like downtown Baghdad, deployed there in 07, 09. So it was somewhere in 07 when I was there. And we're just hanging out in this intersection, just messing with people's like day, right? Like we got cars coming through. We're just checking their trunks for what? You know, weapons of mass destruction. Like we ain't gonna find, nobody's driving through a checkpoint with shit in their trunk nowadays. Like they're wise to the ways. So we're just hanging out, messing around. And this kid walks up to me and in perfect English, hey, what's up, man? And I'm like, hi. Not expecting that. And he's in full Iraqi, you know, he just looks like a little normal Iraqi kid running around. And he's just like, so what are you doing? And I'm like, pulling security. What are you doing, kid? He's like, you know, just hanging out. Me and my dad are here visiting. We're from, you know, Michigan. I'm like, cool. I'm like, how long you been here? He's like, well, you know, a couple of years. I'm like, that's not hanging out, you know, that's like, you're living here, dude. Right. And he's just like, yeah, you know, he's like, you know, no one wants you here. And I'm just like, oh,
Whoa.
What'd you say? He's like, yeah, dude, no one wants you here. Like, none of these people want you here. They don't need you. And that was a moment for me. That where I was just like, I know we did some good things, right? Like I did some humanitarian stuff while I was there that like I'm actually proud of. But like in that moment, like the things that we were doing, it was just kind of like, man, this is a moment for me. And so that was kind of where everything in my life kind of started shifting my perspective on everything, on how I treat people, how I look at how other people are treated, and how I approach things with more curiosity versus my own judgment. Like I gotta get behind their eyes and figure out why they're looking at me like that. Because that kid blew my mind. And he was like 13 years old, you know? And I mean, I'm 19, really not that big of a difference, but for that kid to just come up to me and rock my world, like, what the hell?
Yeah, you immediately, am I the asshole?
Right. Yeah, you're never offered that perspective. Like,
can you
growing
expound
up.
on that a little bit, on how that made you feel? And can you maybe compare that to maybe the high point of the humanitarian work that you did during your deployment there? Because that is a really interesting story.
Sure.
That I would love to hear a lot more about.
Well, I mean, that for that day, they just kind of wrapped it up. It was at a mosque, so it was at a very much like a public event where, you know, people were gathering, and like I told you, we were just messing with their day. Everyone's coming to this place anyways, you know, all the cars are coming here, and we just took it upon ourselves to just really use that as a checkpoint. Like we're flexing our religion more or less against theirs, making it harder for them to kind of be involved with theirs.
Is that how you felt? You felt it was a religious thing that you were doing against theirs because you were at the mosque?
No, but like with perspective, yes.
Okay.
Just kind of looking back, America is Christian.
Yeah, at the very least, our morality.
Right. And I mean,
Don't get me started on that, but yeah, okay.
Yeah. And I mean, are we in a Muslim country for oil? Sure. You know, no argument. We're over there. But are we, you know, also kind of throwing around our weight of who we are, like long term, and kind of like, you know, we definitely have a lot of, I don't want to call them Bible thumpers, but like people that were vocally about who they were while we were deployed to like locals. Because there's a lot of discourse where people just want to talk and get to know you. We've been invited to one of the craziest times for me. So here's a fun humanitarian moment. I got invited to a dinner while I was deployed, and I'm just like a little, you know, private
from a local
with a local dinner. I'm just a little private Tyler running around. And my commander gets word, and he's just like, we're doing this. So we all get up, and, you know, he pulls me, my lieutenant, my squad leader, and then himself, and then a whole bunch of other guys to go, watch, make sure everything's safe. And he's just like, you need to take your armor off. You need to leave your gun over there, and you need to come sit and have dinner with us and just, speak when spoken to. Like, all right, cool. So, we get in there and they just want to hear our perspective about like our story and how we got there. That curiosity that they want to just understand where we're coming from. Like, why should they be mad at us? And there's so much of that, so much of that conversation. And, that just because they're hearing you doesn't mean they believe in you, but they still want to hear it. And I think there's a lot of wisdom in that too. You have to know what the other person is thinking. And, but anyways, sitting there having dinner with them was one of the best experiences I'd ever had. I ate like a king. These guys brought 15 different plates out of food. It's all open hand, just grab, and they didn't. They're not. It's different. It's just it makes you feel like you're part of it, and they treat you like you're part of it when you're in there, and that isn't something that you would see here. That isn't something that we don't treat people like that. And there's, it makes you think like. To me, that's a good, but we don't do that, right? So now if we're defining the opposite of the good would be the evil, but inherently I don't think there's anything wrong with both. It's just how we are, how we were, how our different groups are.
Imagine an occupying army coming into America.
I'm from Chicago, bro.
Okay. Again, not trying,
let's not
trying to get politics.
Let's not go down that road.
An occupying army from Afghanistan, right? Right? They come in, and then they come into your house and share a meal with you, right? You want to talk about flipping the script, because I've been in not a situation like that. I didn't serve, but I was in a house in St. Petersburg, Russia. I don't know, 20 years ago or something like that.
Okay.
And they invited my family into their flat that was given to them by the USSR, and shared a meal with us and shared their culture and all that kind of stuff. And in that moment, I had that kind of moment where I was like, imagine if this was the other way around. And that's kind of where, to bring this all back around to the idea of evil and what we were talking about, is the bell curve, right? That's where I really started believing in the bell curve, is if there's one side of this, there's got to be the other. And I think everything kind of evens itself out, regardless of religion or anything else. I just think it balances itself out. If there's this, then there's that. And there's a lot in between. But if there's one extreme, there's another.
So to get it back on evil, would that make evil a requirement? Kind of like the idea that you don't know good if you don't know evil, you don't know love if you don't know hate, etc.
I think it's just it's just what Tim said. It's just the extreme opposite of how you viewed that bell curve, right? Like, we still had to label it and like put our perspective on it.
Sure.
But, like, not to get political, but if we took like the last 10 years out of the window, our bell curve looks a lot different. The things that we get away with as time progresses and like things move on, it's wild. Sometimes we get away with less. We can't beat people up with sticks and take their land anymore just because, like, caveman ooga booga. But like, we can fly some planes and drop some cool stuff from really far away.
Right. Oh, I guess the question would be, is there what's a good way to put this? I think that we can probably all think of things that we would say are objectively evil, not objectively ambiguous. Like, for instance, you served. For me, the biggest thing is harming children in any way. And, in the Middle East, I don't know if you saw it or not, but they'll put children at risk intentionally. Put a firearm in a child's hand or strap a bomb to him, stuff like that. To me, that is objectively evil. And I do know that it turns a little gray when you're talking in times of war, acts of war. I think the waters definitely get muddied there. But not to bring up other things, to me, there are acts that have been committed by humans that I cannot imagine someone committing. To me, that is more than just, I mean, can we write that off to just a total absence of morality, a total absence of conscience?
So what I want to say to kind of cap off the bell curve conversation is, and to what Tyler said, can you really have a good day if you haven't had a bad one? Right?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. No, I get
Right.
that, the
So,
yin and yang of it.
But to bring it back to what you're saying, boy, I guess we just really have to kind of atrocities, right? There's yeah, I'm gonna have to think about that for a second.
I mean, let's say you look at human trafficking.
Okay.
Terrible thing. Objectively evil, in my opinion, but you can see the motivation for it. It's a money thing. It's a business thing.
Isn't that like literally the oldest profession?
Well, prostitution is, but
Right.
yeah, human trafficking of children and stuff like that. To me, that is evil, but the justification is financial. Then you get into,
well, the Bible says the root of all evil is the thought of money. Is that correct? Right?
it is, money is the root of many evils.
Okay.
That kind of got turned into the root of all evil is money is the root of all evil, but it's money is the root of many evils. Yeah.
So that's what I wanted to bring this back to, because you've been reading the Quran, the Bible, you've been interviewing all these people, right? So you're the one that has this knowledge. So what I'd like to turn this back on you, and through your experience and what you've been doing and the people you've been talking to, what do you believe is evil, and how do you define evil? If I can spin it back on you here for a second.
That is what I'm trying to figure out. That is why we are here.
Well, something out, man. I mean, there's no such thing as a bad idea, right? And then
right. For me, probably the most accurate way to look at evil is as the absence of morality, the absence of good, the absence of conscience. But then I weigh in with, like, what I was getting to. There are acts of what we would call evil being committed all the time that don't have financial gain. Our species, at its core, our animal brain is all about survivability. So to do anything, to expend energy and resources for no gain, goes directly against our human nature. But there are basically self-destructive evil acts that people perform. Murder, SA, yada yada, that they know are going to come back to bite them, but they do it anyway. And then you get into,
is kind of a big thing of this too, right? Because that was procreation, and I mean, there's timality to this whole thing, right?
Yeah. Well,
maybe I'm getting too deep on that.
But yeah. Well, yeah. If you look at it that way, they were trying to procreate, and whether or not she's willing or not. So yeah, I guess that kind of gets into a gray area for me. It's more, again, it goes back to children.
I'm not trying to have that conversation, but
no,
you know what I mean, right?
I do.
Timality.
I do.
A part of it.
Then you get into intrusive thoughts that people have, and the origin of that. Where whatever, you're standing in line or you're at the grocery store and you think, I could shut that old lady down right now.
Have I talked to you about that before?
No.
That the grocery store is one of my least favorite places to be. I
think that's normal for a lot of people.
I Instacart all my shit. Sorry, excuse me. I Instacart all my stuff because I cannot stand having the things I need to survive in a line waiting to give somebody an imaginary currency. Maybe I'm less evolved than somebody
Imaginary.
else, but I just want to just
What do you mean
hit
imaginary?
currency. The gold standard died with Nixon.
Yeah, sure. That's not the basis of currency. Currency is time and effort. That's it. Energy.
Oh man, we're getting really philosophical in here now.
No, that's all. It's all it is. It's your ability to trade your time and effort for someone else's time and effort.
Well, that's a barter system. That's a barter system.
without having to bring goods and services to a location. That's it. It's an agreed upon standard.
Okay.
Like I understand the lack of, sure, the gold standard being gone. That's a thing. But like,
So we'll say money.
yeah.
To
But
make it more clear, there's all kinds of
Regardless,
currencies.
I
We'll say
hate
money.
standing in a fucking line. Sorry,
Yeah, yeah.
I hate standing in a line at a grocery store next to Karen complaining about if she's got the right coupons or whatever. I'm like, I need this to survive.
See, you're ready for AI to just scan your cart as you're shopping
Drives.
and just
No.
so you walk out.
Thanks
No,
for
it-
hanging out, Mr. Dave. Sorry, I'm not trying to. It's funny. We had a guy pop in and he says, Democrats, wrong live. And he left. Anyway, but yeah, as far as the intrusive thoughts thing, just
But
about
that's
everybody
exactly
has
it, right?
them. Yeah, and it's like, where did those even come from? Because I think I'm a pretty good person, pretty solid, but I've had some really wicked thoughts just pop into my head, and
We've
it's
seen
like,
your
where
streams.
did that come from? So it's hard to say, yes, there is absolutely no outside influence on our minds, on our thoughts, on our conscious, but then there's these outliers where you're like, maybe, maybe.
I think it's trained behavior. You can change what your intrusive thoughts are. You're always going to have the thoughts. It's just the degree of what you perceive them. Like I guarantee 13-year-old Jeff probably had much different intrusive thoughts than today's Jeff, and there's it just takes time. And if the more you get involved with other things, maybe you think about, well, instead of, pushing the little old lady, now you're just thinking like, man, it'd be really fun if I put her in full steampunk. And like, that's your intrusive thought now, like, which it's not bad, but it's still like, she would fucking hate that, but it'd be, it's still your intrusive thought.
Yeah, mine haven't really watered themselves down like that, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Do you not think civilization is just completely skin deep? And please help me if we're too far off topic here, but like The Walking Dead, all these other shows, right? And just like, even when COVID happened, right, to make it like a reality here, remember the toilet paper scares? I made an Instagram post. I had like 20 stacks of toilet paper, and I just went, any ladies trying to hang out through COVID with me, type shit? No, seriously.
You had the currency.
You had the currency.
That's good. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
So when we remove normal is when you see
civilization
Yeah.
is skin deep.
Yeah.
So if we're talking about true evil, right, and intrusive thoughts, and 13-year-old Jeff or 13-year-old, my name Tim, whatever, Tyler, whoever, right, your brain's not fully developed, and so I give a little bit of, and society gives a little bit, right? There's a different jail for people who are less than 18 unless they do something egregious, whatever the case is, right?
Mm-hmm.
But once your brain's fully developed, right,
I don't know, man. Are we ever grown up?
Is the intrusive thoughts you have separate from your person?
That's
right.
the question.
Just because you can stop that and not act on it, does that make you a better person or a different person, less evil person? Or are we all lying to each other and just filling a societal contract to make sure that we don't get arrested, thrown in jail, all that kind of stuff?
Society.
Right. Well, you get into
always
fear,
the
fear
answer.
of repercussions for your actions. I mean,
I don't think we can talk about evil and people being or acting evil without the societal contract. Because if there was no repercussions, right, with the purge, right, all this content that's out there, it's out there for a reason. It's content creators, directors, movie makers, whatever, going, hey, what if I didn't give a fuck and I could do whatever I wanted?
Sure.
How would I act? How would society act? And how thin is society? Toilet paper, hand sanitizer became the actual fucking currency. I'm sorry, I'm going to curse less. But it really, I curse with intention there. It really was. If you really think back on it, it was the currency, to the point where I was like, yo, girls, what up? You trying to keep your hands clean, or?
Right. Well, this all goes down to just the existence of morality at all, the existence of objective good and objective bad. I mean, basically, if that doesn't exist, then nothing is good. Nothing is evil.
Okay, so how much do you want to touch into nihilism?
I mean, well, I guess it's part of the conversation.
I don't want to depress anybody, but I'm pretty close. I'm pretty much a nihilist. I don't think anything matters. Yeah, okay.
I know.
I don't think it matters if you punch somebody in the face and walk away. I really don't.
You don't see that as,
again, society on that one. Like, it comes to like,
society will tell you it's wrong.
Yeah, but they might tell you it's wrong, but they won't enforce anything on it. It's all about timing on it, you know, like.
So who's the arbiter of what is good and evil, right? I think that's the real, true conversation we're trying to have here, right, Jeff?
Well, if we're keeping it right here on Earth, I guess we are. But see, I can't really go down the road of no objective morality, just because. Go ahead.
What keeps you? You are a good person. I know you pretty well, right?
Yeah. So, I'm who I am, but I don't have multiple characters.
So, all right. Well, you don't have to call me out that deep, but so what keeps you as a objectively? And I don't think anybody that knows you, and maybe you could disagree with yourself on this, but what keeps you as an objectively good person? Because I don't know anybody that would say that you're not.
What keeps me what? What keeps me being a good person?
Yeah. What stops you from punching the homeless guy, or whatever?
Sometimes not a whole lot, but.
Yeah. So, I mean,
I don't know. I would say at my core, I have a set of
it's selfishness
of morals or rules that are not necessarily my own, and then of course I have my own moral structure, my own character. But I don't know if it is genetic. I don't know if it is nurture. Obviously we were brought up in a Judeo-Christian morality society, but I don't think even without that I could murder a child, even without society telling me that that's bad, or my parents telling me that's bad. Actually, I don't think my parents ever said, don't murder children, but I don't think that I could be that cruel. I mean, I probably could, but to me, there's a separation between not murdering a child, not killing an animal for no reason, killing an animal and leaving it on the side of the road or whatever. To me, there's a difference between that and not punching the cashier at the grocery store that annoys me. I think that there's kind of two different rule sets there. And I think maybe the sociopaths, they understand our moral structure. They understand our laws, and all that stuff, but they don't have that guilt response to breaking them. So I think a lot of it is just conscious and, like Woot said, selfish just in the sense of knowing that if you do this, you're going to feel terrible about it. You're going to punish yourself if you do this. So maybe selfishness does kind of factor into it. I don't know if that answered your question. That's an interesting question to ask. That's something I would have to sit with and kind of meditate on.
Yeah. I do think it's okay to be like selfish and help people. You know, I get enjoyment from it. I based my entire life around service. Like every career I've ever had has been service to other people. And I think that it's addictive. It truly is. And so
there is a gain from it.
Yeah.
I don't want to interrupt you, but I watched a podcast with Joe Rogan and Matthew McConaughey. And he said exactly that. When you give to charity, when you do good for other people, there is selfishness behind it. You get a reward for that, but that doesn't change the fact that you are doing good for people.
Yeah. It's my hard work. Like in that scenario, it would be my hard work that I'm willing to share with other people through a imaginary currency, or however it be, whatever resource I could provide, toilet paper during COVID. You know, there's value in that. And, you know, if you can, you should, but not everyone, you shouldn't be, you know, you shouldn't judge people if they do or don't based on if they can or can't. It's to everybody, it comes on a different level. There's comfort there, you know. If you can, you should. Can you expound on that? For me, I believe that if you can, you should. That's why I do. But I don't believe, because I was helped a lot growing up. I was one kid in a village of single parents kind of taking care of me. So it was, you know, that's like, without everyone else, I wouldn't have had, like, you know, food every night and stuff like that. So I would like to give back when I can. But I don't think that I should force other people to do that as well. I think it's completely up to the individual. Is
that like a moral judgment thing, or just you understand that it's your personal belief that if you can, you should.
Mm-hmm.
So, but when you see other people who could and don't,
yeah,
do you have that moral judgment, or is it just no, they're doing
not at all? Because maybe I'm hamstringing myself by doing it now the way I am, and maybe greater good comes from, or as good, you know, better events come from what they're doing later. You know, it's a perspective in time. You know, we can't really guess what's going to happen in the future if they needed that for themselves in the future. You know, there's just a lot there. So you know, I'm one of those, give them the shirt off my back if I can, if you need it. But it's hurt me previously. You know, it's one of those things. You gotta learn from it as well.
Yeah, I get it. Yeah.
I don't feel that way at all.
Well, go on.
You don't like helping people? Aren't you in sales? You help people every day.
Yeah, no. No, that's just helping yourself.
Mm-hmm.
You think is it? Because they could go anywhere else. They could choose anything else they wanted to.
What do you not agree with? That there is a requirement, or that do you think that it's somehow wrong to help other people?
So I'm at a gas station, right?
Mm-hmm.
And somebody walks up to me. The first thing I do is look behind me because I think somebody's trying to rob me, right? So I just go, all right, I'm getting put together. I got to make sure I'm safe.
Uh-huh.
Right. And then this person goes, they have some sob story. I came from Las Vegas, right? I'm in Florida, right? I came from Las Vegas. I need $5 for gas, this or that. I'm like, buddy, do you just want a beer? And then they keep lying to me, whatever the case is. I go, you know, I don't give a shit.
Okay.
Right. And there's different versions of that all the way through.
Yeah.
I can't figure out. I do find situations where I do want to give and help. But like 80% of the time, I just don't give a shit.
I think that's normal.
Because I think tribalism is built within our DNA.
Absolutely. Yes.
Right. So I care about my people, my clan, my family, my friends, all this
Mhm.
kind of stuff, and some stranger that comes up and is like, "Hey, I've got some bullshit story." I'm like, "Great, so do
Yeah.
I."
Well,
You know, you want to
that's
buy a
just
Cadillac? You
yeah.
know,
That's
So
just determining who your tribe is for
exactly, and I
yourself.
believe that I would consider my tribe to be much larger than the average Joe's, 100%. Like, I don't really care where you're from. If you can walk and talk and I can help you, I'm going to, because, like, to me, we're all sucking. We're all in this together. None of us have enough of what we're looking for, whether it be, financial support, fucking emotional support. Nobody has it all. Everybody wants something more for themselves. And so everyone's got that struggle. So for me, like, if I can help out another person going through that struggle, whether I can relate to it or not, that dude at that gas station, bro, we've both been there. Like, we've wanted to be that guy who could actually ask for, but like, there's a level of annoyance to the commonality, the commonality of what that pestering can feel like, and sometimes you just smile and just deal with it, because like I think those are the ones that you recognize and you see, but you can always look for the bigger ones too. That's not the one that would speak to me either. I'm telling you right now, the guy at the gas station isn't going to get my full.
it's probably gonna stab you.
Well, for me, kind of like Tim said, if the guy at the gas station comes up and says, "Hey, man, can I get $5? I really need a beer, or I really need a drink, or whatever." He's more likely to get $5 from me than the guy that comes up and gives me, the sob story that I know is a story that I know is fake.
Okay. So I will tell you, like, this has happened recently, like within the last year, and I live out in the corn, so like this is rare that it would even happen, but people would come up to me before I'd even get the sob story out. I'm already handing them the money. And I think that's the difference on how I would approach this scenario.
Really?
I don't need to hear the story. If you've got the ask, I'm going to give it to you if I have the means.
Right. I do the same thing with the people
Why?
that stand at intersections.
I ask people for things all the time.
Like what?
Everything. I literally, like, my entire life is collecting things. I've worked for charities. I've worked for different sales events.
I'm in the lowest part of my life, and I'm not asking anybody for shit.
That's who you are, my friend.
That's pride.
Yeah, that's who
It's
you
not
are.
pride.
It is pride, because I've actually had to work really hard the past few years to get past that, because I hit a point where if I wouldn't have asked for help, I wouldn't be here. So I think that there is a point, and there has been times through my life where I needed help and I received help, and I felt so guilty and less of a man by needing the help, by accepting the help.
But it's the help that you're defining is that you had a problem asking for. There was other help that you were getting that you're just not acknowledging. Like, you had support of your friends that were just there to bullshit with you, to struggle with you. You had support. It just wasn't the financial support. And maybe that's not the support that you give when somebody asks you for $10. But then you give them the support of, helping them sit down and build a budget. You give them the support of that daily encouragement, that somebody to check in with. Like, what right looks like, as like, you've seen people go through this struggle. Maybe you've gone through it yourself. That giving them that tenner isn't going to really get them there, but having them over for dinner every night, there's a means to an end that is more than just giving them that. And I think you can find those opportunities are there. It's just how far do you want to take some things, there's
right. Well, I think we've all known,
just
I know
giving
even between me and Tim,
before
we've all known, this guy needs to talk. This guy needs to whatever.
Mm-hmm.
It's on the flip side of that, being able to actually ask for the help, that's where the personal conflict comes in.
Yeah. Evil exists, and Tyler's the other side of it.
Yeah. Tyler's a good dude.
Yeah, people tell me that. Yeah, I do try. I mean, I built my career around being a good person. So
do you think that's because what you saw when you were serving?
No, I think it's I'm gonna 100% credit it to the women who raised me. I literally said it. I was raised by a village of single moms, who very much just steered me in a way. I can credit it to a lot of things. And then here's where kind of like I would say my own personal strength is I acknowledge kind of the situation that I'm in more than others, and I can learn from other people very well. So much so that I can tell you the toxic traits of every leader I've ever had, and how I don't make them part of who I am. I plan on writing something down one day about all this, but I've worked for the absolute worst of the worst people. I promise, like people who have gone through just some absolute bullshit in their lives and then took it out on us because we were the generation in the military that came in post that invasion. And man, it was some wild stuff. But I got to give those guys credit too, because without them, I wouldn't be the person I am today, because I learned from who they are. So, there is good from that evil being learned, that you're to go back to your bell curve 100%. Without those guys teaching you though what is wrong, you can't really do what is right.
So why do you feel the need to, so other people don't deal, like, are you religious in some way? Do you feel that there's somebody's going to judge you? What's the ultimate cause of it, right? You just want somebody's finite experience to be better than yours?
I want everyone's
experience. Is it just
to be
because
better.
you know how big a difference that little bit of grace, that little bit of generosity can make?
Yes. I think there's, if you can sit there, go to a food bank, don't work it, just observe it. Observe how people are different when they come in versus when they leave. And even if they just got the meal, or if they got the conversation, they got something out of that they needed, they leave a happier person overall. You're going to see people just like in that. I see that. And that's where the selfishness comes back in. I like it. I like feeling like that. I like helping other people get to that point where they feel comfortable. And I don't know. I always think that I gave a speech once about conflict and how I feel like conflict exists because it's an opportunity to help other people. And if you can get through conflict, it just means that you can help other people and you can do it efficiently. And maybe you're not the right person to help them in that moment, but you can acknowledge that there's a problem and you can push them towards a solution. And that is sometimes really what people need. Maybe it's that first hot meal. Maybe it's learning to cook that first hot meal. There's something, and you can see people grow. And that's where I feel good about it, when I watch other people get better at what they do.
I get that 1000%. I started doing this on YouTube just because for me, I'm 56 years old. I was much more religious when I was young. I had, went to a couple church services and stuff like that. And then as I got older, I got a little more cynical, a little more skeptical. And I just sort of just let that sit, and then I reached the point where, and I had enough experiences with people who hadn't really nailed down their beliefs, hadn't grown that strong root system in their beliefs, you know what I mean? And I was able to steer them the wrong way, which I felt terrible about afterwards. But I think I've also met people who had that root system and had that, unshakable faith, when the storm comes. And that was something that I decided that I wanted for myself. And so I had to sit down and figure out, okay, what is it that I believe?
Mm-hmm.
What is it that I believe? Not what I can prove beyond, any question, but what is it that I believe that for myself is true beyond question? And the way I'm doing that is by really digging into it. And since I know how crushing that can be when your foundation gets shaken, which is really interesting, what we talked about before the stream started, that I think people should prepare themselves for that and really dig into their own religions, which is why I started sharing what I'm sharing. I'm sharing everything with no bias, just the information, but it's mostly to just encourage people to ask the questions of themselves and of their religion or whatever their beliefs are, just so they don't get that knockout sucker punch when they're not expecting it, and get rocked to their core.
I can't find good versus evil and really much morality, in my opinion, through the scripts that I've read, which has basically been the Bible. And I did a really bad read through of the Quran, but I'm gonna go through it through your content, quite frankly, and I'm excited that you've been doing it. But I find more good in what Tyler has said, right? Because he just comes upon this by himself in his own life experience and what feels good to him and what feels bad to him, right? He's a good person, right? Reading a book, shut up. Reading if anybody watches this on YouTube, they're gonna be like, wow, that Tim Allen guy's an asshole. But that's okay. I'm going through my own life experience. You can respect it.
Everyone's got a journey.
Yeah, I mean, I've read the Bible cover to cover 3 times, and then 2 more times skipping like Ruth and Deuteronomy and Numbers and right all the. I just don't like Ruth.
Poor Ruth. What's up, Butters?
I just don't like it. Anyway, but I just finding somebody who has a life experience to go, hey, I find joy out of doing this. Right. But to bring it back to the whole concept of this podcast that we're doing is there's somebody out there that's worse than me, apparently, that doesn't do that. But when it comes to religion, I just don't find in the scriptures where it really directs you to what's good or evil. I really don't see it.
Well, I don't know. You have the 10 Commandments. You have the
what do the 10 Commandments really tell you? What do they really tell you to not
don't be a dick?
Don't cheat on your wife. Don't kill somebody. Everything else is
don't lie. A lot of it is just about a lot of the 10 there's like 6 commandments that aren't just love God, basically.
Right, exactly.
But I mean, I would say
I think it's 6 that are.
I would say it does. It tells you to love thy neighbor as thyself. Or
that's a good one for sure.
There's that in the Beatitudes. I would say if you just want to read how to be a good person, read Matthew. Read the Sermon on the Mount, the Beatitudes. That tells you how to be. I mean, that's like Jesus's. I don't know if you watched my video. Jesus was the goat. I think regardless, take all divinity out of it, all mysticism, whatever. Dude had it right. Dude lived the life. Dude was the example. So I think there's wisdom in there. I think there's wisdom in other books. It's just sifting through it. My problem is I can't read the Bible and take every word as being divinely inspired. I don't believe that that's truth.
Are we taking that turn? Are we taking that turn? Are we talking about that?
I do think that there's divine inspiration in there, but it did pass through vehicles. It passed through men. And dude, when you read the Quran, or if you read the Quran, and I'm not going to disparage anything right here, it's kind of crazy. And there are parts of it that are just like directly, supposedly, this divine message from God that has a whole lot of association with exactly what was going on with the people at that particular time. And it's uncanny how this commandment from God, I mean, in one, it specifically mentions this guy's name that left Muhammad, and took some of the supplies of the group. So God gave him a message mentioning this guy by name and how he was going to burn in hell. It's interesting. But so, yeah, I think you have to consider the source, but that doesn't mean that there's not divine inspiration there. That doesn't mean that there's no guidance. I just don't believe that every word is from God.
So what you're kind of putting out there, though, is just that there's stories, right? The Bible's a collection of stories, and I guess directed.
Absolutely, yeah. It's not a scientific text. It's not a history book. There's bits and pieces, and
so
tons of it
Christian,
are just
Tyler,
parables,
right?
Raised, I'm not anymore. No, I lost my faith in a very specific day, in a very specific way, and Yeah,
I did too.
I looking back at it, I love humanity's embracement of faith and the structure that it provides. I am a huge fan. This is like one of the hottest takes that people raise an eyebrow to, but I'm a huge fan of the Church of Latter-day Saints. I think that
Whoa.
yeah, in terms of like new age religion, because there's like very few that are, you know, at that youth of and scale. The structure that it provides is bar none, like it's great. The amount of community, full service that I mean, there's some weirdness to it, and with any new religion, you're going to be ironing out some stuff, especially if you're like really into the stories of it. It all sounds wonky, but like all the stories are kind of wonky when you like sit there and you kind of think about it. You know, that's why we've got some of like the anti-religions that kind of poke fun at it, you know.
Yeah, but Joseph's okay. All right. So let's not get
hold on.
Are we talking about the structure of the church and how they organize the youth
like
and stuff like that?
Right?
Okay.
Just community.
Mm-hmm. But the community, the rules that they build into their community, they took the bet. It was like they took a lot of weird stories and then took the best of like Christianity, religion that like had to offer, and then kind of put it with like an engineering bit of a tism inside. And you know what came out was a little bit of weirdness, you know, to today's standards, but also a lot of greatness. A lot of very driven from humanity type of people that you're seeing doing a lot of good across the board. I mean, there's no doubt that you see them in public figures, especially in religion and like larger, you know, Fortune 5 companies. It's very much present, and even like.
So let me agree with you.
Yeah.
One of my friends, Moreland TV, and I'm gonna try not to dox too much of our conversations, but he's been one of my best friends, and he's been a great friend. And he recently started going to church. And I went, he like put out a video about nihilism.
Mm-hmm.
He has a whole like channel about religion and basically speaking against it. And he went, hey man, so I know you're like not doing well. Like maybe go to church.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
I've had this conversation with multiple
what
people at me.
Fuck do you mean? Like you're the most like non-religious person. Like that's why we're friends, buddy. Like we realize like the world is not created by God, you know, and all this kind of stuff.
It's all water, baby.
He goes, it doesn't matter. There's people there are great, and they're there for the same reason. And I came there honestly, and people came up to me and they went, hey, why are you here? They go, and he goes, I'm just looking to make a connection. I don't think any of this shit means anything.
Yeah.
So no matter what I think about LDS and Joseph Smith and all that stuff is, I think the point you were trying to make is the one that he made to me, where it's about community and people just coming together and caring about each other and all that kind of stuff.
100%.
And if we want to wrap that around evil and good, I think community is always good. Community's always good, right? The tribalism, right? That is what keeps civilization is skin deep, 100%. You cannot deny it as much as you want to try to. And the more rooted you are in the community that you're in, the harder it's going to be to rip away from that and slash your friend's throat for
the more you believe that your community is there for you.
Yeah, we're social creatures, and it's in our DNA, like I was talking about earlier. It's about survival. There's strength in numbers, so it's just written in our DNA to be social creatures.
Yeah, my idea of church has actually just been redefined in like the last, I don't know, since I lost my religion, really. For me, it is that community. For a long time, when I was like really into gaming and doing all that Diablo speedrunning, that Sunday morning was my church. That was when the 8 guys got together and we did what we did. and it was nothing else mattered. We meditated in that moment, and we grew as a group, and we got better. And I'll tell you all day, that was church to me. And when I miss church, oh God, I feel it. And I understand why people go every Sunday, even if they're, out pounding beer Saturday night till 2 a.m, they still put the suit on and go in there to kind of say what's up, see their people, get their battery recharged. Maybe it's not always the people you want to see, but it's the people that are there for you week after week. And that's what we all just strive for. And then, you say, community, I'd say society is, skin deep. It really is just your tribes that you bring together. And it's just multiple tribes agreeing not to beat the shit out of one another for each other's resources. And, the larger we can make that tribe, the bigger we can make it, the more people we can bring into it that actually feel taken care of. To kind of get into it, if you wanted to read a little bit, the theory of abundance, kind of a newer thing that's coming out in the economic worlds. It's based off a guy, and I feel like a clown for not knowing his name right now. Just wrote it, and it's just, without abundance, people are always going to strive for more. If we can get to the point where we can give everybody everything they need, maybe conflict no longer exists, maybe evil no longer exists, good no longer exists. We just exist.
Well, will to live might no longer exist if everybody has everything that they need.
Mm-hmm.
Well, most people have what they need. It's the want that's the problem, right? Like a millionaire, once they become everybody
the bar changes year to year, 100%.
Right? They just keep going. They keep going.
Yeah. This is the people who hate American economy and want to talk about how busted American economy is, just haven't realized that, and they don't swallow the pill, that the fact that they can go to the grocery store and get 17 different versions of Pop-Tarts is a pretty fucking cool thing that you couldn't get 100 fucking years ago. And you probably...
I don't have the statistics, but I know for a fact after $50,000 a year, this was a study from 10 years ago, right? So for inflation, call it 60, except for nobody's making more.
Are you about to say the happiness number for a household?
The happiness, right?
75, I think.
86 for a household, I think.
86.
Right. So after that, happiness does not increase. You are who you are, right? Happiness is, right, if you can put food on the table and you've got what you need, you got the base, you have what you need, that's fine. When you're chasing what you want, that's what turns you into an asshole.
Right. Well,
so what if you want to help people and you need to take resources from other people to do it?
What'd you say? I'm sorry. What was it? I'm sorry. I didn't get the first part. What'd you say?
Sorry, myself?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. So if you wanted to help people, but you need to take the resources from other people to do it, I do that every day. I ask you for your resources, and I just do it in a nice way. You might call it manipulative. Some people do.
Robin Hood. Okay. Would you pull an ass out of the pit on the Sabbath? Right. There's a ton of ways to say the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
But
it's perspective. It's all about, in the moment, that time.
I kind of want to get back to religious evil, though. Can we do that?
Okay.
Religious evil? Sure. Yeah.
Right. Because so Revelations, the New Testament, there's proper evil. There's what I want to know is, through your readings, Jeff, and through all of us have been raised, I guess, kind of similarly, is, do you believe there is a devil?
That's the question of this whole thing, is whether or not there is a devil, whether or not there are demons, or if was Lucifer, the devil, Satan, whatever, is that just part of a parable? So yeah, that's the core of this entire discussion, is if there is evil as far as an entity, an intelligence, whatever you want to call it, or is there not? Is it just a simple matter of what we determine is good and bad? So yeah, I mean, all except maybe Buddhism. Well, doesn't Buddhism have a negative too? I can't remember what it's called.
Buddhism is not a religion.
Right. Yeah, I understand that. But
thank God. Okay. Thank God.
No, but you in looking at it like a religion, there is a negative in Buddhism, right? There's a positive and a negative, and
right,
beyond the self. almost all religions have that, the bad guy, the big bad,
Right.
that actual has causation, where they actually make bad things. Well, I don't know if Islam has Iblis, Satan. Islam has Satan.
Just a
So
different name. Yep.
yeah, there just seems to be a big bad that actually causes human beings to commit evil acts, to sin, in almost all religions. So
do you believe that? Do you believe that, Jeff? That
I'm trying to figure it out, dude. That's why I wanted to have this conversation. That's, for me, this isn't about like debate. Like, I believe.
So you don't
this,
know.
and
You don't know.
I do not know, dude. I do not know. This isn't a debate.
Wow.
This is a conversation. Because I have that. I use the term skeptic loosely, because a lot of people denote that, automatically associate that with a negative, with a doubt. I'm very agnostic. I know that I don't know shit,
Yep.
So I have
Wisdom
a
of
ton
age.
of questions. Yeah, dude, it
Yeah.
really is. It really is.
Yeah, the older my kid gets, the more I realize
don't know
it's
shit.
true. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just like looking
You're
at
a
him,
lot
like,
happier.
you don't know what you're talking about. I don't know what I'm fucking talking about when I tell you shit. So clearly no one knows what they're talking about.
Right. Yeah, I don't know. I'm trying to answer that question.
Right.
So if you have a question about evil, are you sure are you confident there's a God or a positive presence?
Yes.
So why would you not assume that there's the opposite?
Well, that's the question. Does there have to be an opposite? That's the problem of evil in Christianity. If God is all-knowing, all-powerful, omnibenevolent, loves everybody, and omniscient, knows everything that's going to happen, why does evil exist?
I don't want to feel like I set you up, but I kind of did set you up.
No, come on.
Can you ever feel like you had a good day if you didn't have a bad day? Why would you be confident there is a good force that you can't touch, talk to, feel, etc., and be unsure if the opposite exists, when our entire existence is a bell curve? There is good, there's evil, there's bad, there's left, there is right. Everything is yin and yang. Everything.
Right. So is God actually the yin and yang symbol? Is God actually neutral? Is there a reason why there is good, and is there a reason why there is evil?
Well,
God is a bell curve. God is a bell curve.
Nope. No. Go on, Tyler. I'm talking too much. Go on.
No, that's it. It's all about that perspective on how we look at good and evil. Good and evil only matters in the moment. What we thought was good only mattered until we put it on paper and we wrote it down and we told a story that made it good. So I don't think that demons, I don't think any of that's real. Like there's no other dimension. There's nowhere we all go at.
Wait, now you don't believe in dimensions?
Well, hold on, like a demon dimension type of thing,
No,
like Buffy the vampire going through the hellmouth. I don't know, not in the context that we're talking right now. No, I don't believe that there's like another place. It's just
right that there's a hell. I mean,
right.
Well, even in the Bible, there's definitely a lot of confusion about what's in the Bible and our idea of hell.
Mm-hmm.
Most Christians' idea of hell came from Dante.
Dante's, yeah, exactly. The Seven Rings, absolutely.
The Bible says Satan walks the earth.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he doesn't get thrown into the pit of hell until Revelation, so then he gets thrown into the lake of fire.
But who is Satan, right?
Supposedly he's a fallen angel, but here's the thing. If he was created by God, hence lesser than God, then God could basically control everything that he does. And in the story, he's like, he kicks Satan out, and Satan's like, all right, well, I'm going to go to earth and just start fucking with everybody.
I got this one. So I think Orwell writes like about this really well when he talks about the fact that we have to label what the bad is. We can't just be mad at an idea. We can for a moment, but you still have to have something at the front of that idea, or else it doesn't go anywhere. And without being able to, that's just we as humans have to have something that we look at as good or bad. We could just as a guiding light, as you know, or else we feel lost. So it's yeah, I think it's just a great story with like that helps people label what it is.
So, do you think if we don't have like eternal or existential evil, then that gives, I'm not going to say no meaning because I am a nihilist and I don't want to out myself that hard.
Yeah.
Less meaning to our existence?
I don't think our existence matters at all. I think the Thanos.
Okay, well, I was trying not to be nihilist, but all right.
Yeah, if the Thanos snap happens and it like oopsies and everyone's gone, everything else continues to exist. Whether it was good or bad or not, it's all still there. Like the idea.
Are you saying
that
we're not the top of the food chain?
the food chain doesn't? No, that's just opportunity. That's
Right.
evolution.
I'm gonna let him cook. Holy.
Yeah, that there's only. I don't know. There's humanity is just another species that exists, right? We are unique to this planet as far as we know. You know, there's no other proof that we're anywhere else. Just like the tiger or the bear or the fish, you know, we can't find these things anywhere else. So I don't know. I have a problem thinking that there's good or evil in what we are when we're just happenstance. It's just, you know, we're just trying to survive as a whole. I think some people recognize that like survival is at an individual level, and they fight for everything they can. We've seen it, and there's, you know, maybe they never learn the lesson that like you don't have to continue to fight once you have everything you need. And sometimes we even promote that. We applaud those who go way too far with their fight and take and take and take and become the Bezos, the Metas, the whatever you want to, you know.
Find them as evil?
I think some people do. I don't think they're evil.
You don't care, right?
Yeah, no, I think they're just. I think some of the things that they do under lenses can very much be perceived evil and wrong. Absolutely,
Or at least sinful as far as gluttonous and greed and stuff like that goes.
Sure, but like
Now,
what comes from it could be, you know, the next evolution of humanity, and that's where
It often is.
Yeah, and that's where I believe in it all. Like I think there's, you know, if you don't support everybody, like I know what I bring to the world. I know what my ceiling is, I guess. At least I know what I'm comfortable defining as my ceiling. And if I can raise other people up through that and kind of get them, and maybe that next guy is able to, or gal is able to pop off and kind of do that thing that we needed. I'm not taking credit, but I'm going to feel real good if it happens, you know. And even if I don't know about it, and just, you know, thinking that I could help somebody long term is kind of where it all comes from. That's where I think the good is in people, right? And then what we would define as bad is just people that are taking at the sake of others, right? You're taking away from somebody else's experience.
Right.
That's bad. We generally don't like that for other people, whether it be, you know, life, resources, you know, their abilities to do well. And, you know,
Can I tell you one of my life ethos that you're gonna hate me for, Tyler?
Sure.
Don't unfollow me, okay? Do unto others as they would do to you.
Okay. You've been jaded a few times in your life. I think we've all been hurt.
But that's not like always a bad thing.
Hold on. I'm going to say this. I'm not going to say there's not a scenario where I don't end up just like you. It's just where I'm at right now. I'm able to be who I am, but take away what I have, my safety nets, I'm more like you. That's not. It's not.
I'm not looking for you to apologize for it. Or
I'm
anything.
not
Well, I would interject this. The problem with that ethos is you're assuming that you already know what they would do to you, and you don't, because there's guys like Tyler, and then there's assholes.
Yeah.
So you don't already know what they would do to you. To assume that everybody's out to get you isn't intellectually honest, because everyone's not out to get you.
It's not always a bad thing. I'm not trying to say that, right? Do unto others as they would do to you is you read a situation, you understand the social contract, you understand how society works, all that kind of stuff. And so I don't try to assume somebody's going to be better than what I have experienced or what the situation has taught me. And often I realize that I am too kind in a situation, and then kindness is a weakness to be taken advantage of. And I know that sounds super jaded. I know.
It's okay though. No, it's okay.
Yeah, if you've been burnt, that's just your life experience.
Yeah, and
Just,
sometimes
you guys really have like a massively different life experience where just like people are just come up and they're like, hey, like they're not trying to take your wallet, you know?
I
Not
don't
at
mean
all.
this in like a bad way at all. At all. I think I just have one more. I think I've had more time in a good place to kind of self-reflect on it. I don't think you're wrong in the way that you approach it. You know, thinking that people are going to take more from you than they can. I've taken the time to kind of build up. I don't want to call it a wall, but like I've built up people's ability to reach in through me and how much they can take. I'm willing to give as much as I can. Like, I'll give you the shirt off my back, but I'm not going to let you take something that's going to hurt my family. Do you understand? Like, I know what I'm willing to give, and I'm willing to give. And I think what I'm willing to give, I think even what you are willing to give is more than you think. But you don't want to give anything because you're afraid that someone's going to take too much.
Yeah, don't crack open the door because it might get kicked open.
Oh yeah, you give them.
But yeah,
cookie,
you definitely, if
sure.
you're going to be generous, you need to be mindful. And I have, dude, I couldn't, so much past experience with one-way friendships and things like that. But for me, I think more of it came from as I've gotten older. When I was in my 20s, I was very self-righteous, very self-righteous, very little humility. But what I learned as I've grown is that I'm just as screwed up as anybody else is, and everybody else is as capable of being good or bad as I am. So it did allow me a lot of grace for other people. But of course, I still, you know, I'm mindful, and I'm learning to be more and more mindful as I go on. Let me ask you guys this, just to kind of help with how I understand you guys. Do you guys believe in anything beyond us? Anything?
What do you mean?
I mean,
do you believe in creation? Do you believe that we just full on naturalism, that something came from nothing and here we are? Or do you believe in creation? Do you believe in anything outside of our time and space? Be it, don't think religiously, think just in general.
I'm going to listen, but I need a 2-second break here while I listen. Okay. So
I don't want to hear you pee. So
you're not going to hear me do anything. My microphone's right here. My bathroom's over there.
Tomanos, thanks for the follow. Kev the Cletus, thanks for the follow.
Not to answer this in like a philosophical way, but I do believe in curiosity. I believe that there's things that I don't understand, and I've have history to prove that there's always been times where humanity hadn't understand what was going on and what was out there. I believe there's things out there that I don't know 100%, like things that I could never wrap my head around, the size of things. Yeah, you got to believe there's things out there that we don't know about, whether it be another dimension, another species, a mirror, whatever it be. You know, there's a lot of cool theories out there, and I think that it's really healthy that we explore those.
So that was what I meant when I made the top of the food chain comment. Was for a lot of people, especially the more nihilistic people, this is it. We're the most intelligent, you know, we're the alpha species in the universe, you know, and there is nothing beyond our time and space, et cetera, et cetera. And I think that there is,
I think we're saying the same thing.
I think it's much healthier to believe in something greater than yourself.
Yeah, I think it's just that they can't see past the current, and that's fine. Some people live in the moment for all their beliefs. It's all, I don't want to say, you know, it flows like water, but for a lot of people it does. And that's, you know, as you introduce a new stream, it'll become part of their river, and they'll start to accept it. Yeah, I don't think it's a requirement for human curiosity. But I think if like the problems we see is when we try to squash it, or we try to, you know, control people's curiosity. That's where things start to get a little bit too much.
Right. Well, and just by dealing in absolutes like the Sith and saying, no, there is nothing there, you know,
Sure.
I think to me that is self-defeating. I think it's important just for, I mean, it sounds corny or whatever, the meaning of life. You know, I think it's hard to find the meaning of life if you don't believe in something greater than yourself, even if it's not a supernatural being. I think, and that goes back to going to church too. Not only is there the community, it's the spirit in the church of looking to something greater. I think that's part of it. I remember like the first time I went to church, I was still a kid, maybe 11, 12 years old, but I cried when I was in church for some reason. And I don't even remember why, but just, you know, the spirit that you feel in church, the presence of God or whatever it is they call it. I think it's important to want for something else, to want, even if you look at it as just simply, I don't know, wanting to be judged, because we're all judged. We all fear judgment, wanting to possibly be able to stand up to the possible judgment. I don't know. I'm starting to go on a tangent here.
Yeah, I think some people are more comfortable with judgment, you know, and wanting to be. I think that's where it's you see some people that are just comfortable being sheep. They just don't want. That's kind of where religion provides that base for them to follow that good versus evil. Yeah, religion is just it's a cover there for a lot of people to kind of provide them without having to make their own moral decisions, just because they know what's right or wrong, and they know that they're not going to be judged by others if they do exactly what this says. Yeah, it's just it's too much when we judge other people who don't follow that, and it you know, we make actions based off of those. Yeah.
Well, who are we to judge anyway? Because I always go back to,
Yeah. I mean, it's
woo, thanks for subbing, dude.
I did what?
It said Mr. Hollywood just subscribed on Twitch.
Did it?
Somebody gift you a sub.
Oh, sweet. I don't have Twitch up. There we go.
Oh my God, really?
There we go.
We're in the middle of this.
Thanks,
So a greater.
Oh, Kev, thanks, man.
Oh my God, don't talk to him. So the great. I'm sorry about him. So
hey, keep gifting subs. I can ignore him all day.
Fair enough. Some greater idea. Can you kind of rewind that? Like, you kind of went on a tangent there a little bit. I'm trying.
Yeah, I did. I mean, just simply the idea that that there is nothing greater, more wise, that there is no potential, that there is nothing bigger, that there is no.
So, do you
well, like we said earlier, like that there is nothing outside of the moment. What's that?
Ant farm, right? The ant farm mentality, where there's like a child, like, you know, you give your kid, daughter, son, an ant farm,
and right? They become God to the ants.
Yeah, we're all ants in the ant farm. Is that kind of the mentality?
That's kind of the way. Yeah, I mean, I would say that's similar. Yes.
So I don't disagree that there's a possibility that we are a kid's ant farm in some sort of science experiment. But when you really look at how expansive the universe is and how many different galaxies and all this kind of stuff, I think it is nothing short of arrogant that we think we've got the religion, we're the people, we're everything, right? At some point, the Earth was the entire world, right? The entire universe, you know?
Do you know what the most arrogant line in the Bible is?
Go on.
And God created man in his own image and in his likeness. That is I'm sorry, that's the most arrogant line in the Bible. But the problem is we have to explain and describe things in a manner that we can understand.
No, we don't.
Well, we do. Everything that you do, you think in words. So in order to just wrap your head around anything, it has to be in terms that you can understand. And it's as simple as if there is something greater, admitting that maybe we just can't understand it. And I think that's where a lot of the problems with
2,000
religions.
years
I've done a
ago,
whole lot of
that's the
arguing
best
with
way.
atheists lately, and for a lot of them, admitting that they don't know everything is like impossible. I mean, you look at the greatest minds
Really?
of all time. Yeah, for some of them, it really is. Dude, I ran into these. It was like the cast of The Big Bang Theory without Penny, basically. But they'll start talking about physics and stuff. And even when you look at physics, that's where we get theories like dark matter and stuff like that, because the greatest minds of all time haven't really figured the math out yet, where there's not holes in it. We get close. We get as close as we can, but we still don't understand the math.
Let me
But as
be
far-
as succinct as I possibly can.
Okay.
Is there a greater power? Jesus, there's got to be, right? There's got to be. Is it something we've named, has been written about, or we have any conception of? Absolutely not. It is so arrogant for us to think that we have any conception of what is outside of our little worlds. And our little world is just what we can perceive.
Right. But it is something that, right.
I think the more we should be humiliated, like not humiliated, but we should be humbled.
Humbled. Yes.
Right. Humbled. That's the word. Right. So we just go, okay. Oh shit. All right. So maybe that thing from 2,000, 3,000 years ago.
Right. Well, it is important that you reach that point to understand that it could be, and to understand that
what could be.
We don't understand anything, the greater power. But also, I think of
people
the easiest analogy for me of God, and I have reached the point where I 100% believe in God. And recently, something that I struggled with for 50 years. Well, no, that wouldn't make me 6. For 40 years, the Trinity, grasping that Jesus was God on earth. That was like my biggest argument with Christianity throughout my entire life. I just literally, this past week, I've always understood the analogies and the idea, but I just didn't really accept it. And that's where when I started looking into it, is kind of like the LDS Church and stuff like that, where Jesus was, I just reached a point where I understand that Jesus was God in the flesh. Where was I going with this? But the best analogy for me as God isn't the bearded man on a throne. It's a computer programmer, maybe more than
a clock
more
maker.
computer
so it's called the
programmers.
clock maker.
Right. Yeah.
He sets a clock, lets it go. That's it.
Well,
let it do.
Possibly. Or a computer programmer, because since I believe in creation, and people say then you don't believe in evolution. I 1000% believe in evolution. I think intelligent design is the vehicle, the intelligence behind evolution. Anytime someone builds something, when a carpenter builds a house, he doesn't snap his fingers and there's a house. He lays the foundation and then he builds the walls and yada, yada, yada. To me, that's what evolution is.
Are you not familiar with a clockmaker theory?
Not.
You should look that up. That is exactly what you're describing in a lot of words. But that is...
With the exception of, does he just let it run, or
Yep.
does he tinker with it?
No. So that's where it gets complicated. But
yes,
in general, the clockmaker theory is he makes the clock, and however the clock operates, right? If it's correct, incorrect, all that kind of stuff, it is just what it is, and he's kind of, away from it. And that gives ability for free will and all this kind of other stuff. So the clockmaker theory is something, if you're not familiar with it, you should dive into that.
A more similar analogy for me was, I don't deny that it's possible that we're in a petri dish on a counter in a lab somewhere. So, and it's just a case where, an actual petri dish where an experiment is being performed, where the scientist checks on it, and then they make a change here, change there, they add this chemical, whatever, and then a week later they check on it again, see what happened. I don't believe in predestination.
You're kind of describing society right now. Like that's literally society.
Sure.
Yes.
So we invented our own clockmaker. That's how it works. We don't allow
Pretty much.
government to make slow changes. We hate dictators that make quick changes. We prefer the clockmaker approach. I think if I were to really put my thumb on something, I would just say that to most people, God is structure, because without structure, they feel lost. So,
Well, 100%. You go back to, Greek and Roman mythology. It's all about explaining why things happen. I mean, that's kind of where all of it comes from, because we need to know.
mhm.
We want to know why this does this. Some of us more than others. Like me, when I was a kid, I would take everything apart because I wanted to know exactly how it worked, and then try to put it back together. That's where where we got Zeus and the chariot that pulled the sun across the sky and yada yada yada. But I mean, it seems like Christianity, or at least the idea of the Christian God, is the one that has stuck, and I do think there are reasons for that. But like I said, I think of it as the programmer. Did the programmer just write the program and it's just running by itself, or does the programmer, keep adding subroutines, error checking, stuff like that to the program? But yeah, I guess the question is, with the clockmaker idea, yeah, we were created. So then I guess the question is, is that creator still fiddling, still checking in, or not? Does that sound accurate? I mean, the idea of the clockmaker is that it was created, right? The clock was created and we're the clock.
Yeah, I think we there's probably a word here for this, but we believe that we should see it, and that we never would. If that was, it'd be an
See it
invisible
how?
hand type of thing. It wouldn't be.
Oh, it's
Right.
a wind. It's a wind, right?
Yeah, right.
Okay. So is that invisible hand? I mean, we know we're still evolving, right?
Every day.
Right. So is that invisible hand what is making that evolution happen?
All right, so in your scenario here, the invisible hand is just time.
God,
So time,
the creator. Well,
yeah. I think
if you
I'm
look
making
at it,
Tyler defend my argument that you're diving in on, which is
I'm not really arguing it. Any of this stuff, I fully admit that I'm not saying this is what's up. I'm saying this is possibly what's up.
Yeah. I think this is all kind of related, because it's like even this conversation as a whole, like the need to label it is
interesting.
Yeah. Sorry, I don't know how to get that out.
That's right. Right. The need to label it is wow.
It's where
that's
all
metaphysical as fuck. I'm gonna let you know that.
That's where it all comes from.
Mm-hmm.
It's human nature for us to understand. That's what I was talking about. The way that we think.
I don't
we label everything.
I don't have a need to label it at all. I don't care about any of this. I don't know. It sounds like you don't either, Tyler. Do you?
I used to. I've since moved my away from needing to label anything. And when people use labels in any specific descriptive way, it generally upsets me. Be it because they're steering a conversation, that they're using their influence to do that. Even let me tell you guys a quick story. I just got kudos. I picked my wife up from her work party yesterday, like the annual big work party, and a couple of the girls came out and high-fived me, and they were like, "Yo, we loved your post on Facebook." I was like,
"This guy,
what?" And so there was this lady who just was ragging on this guy. I'll pull up the exact what I posted, but this lady's just ragging on this guy for existing inside McDonald's. And so she writes this whole post about how she he's creepy, he's just there all the time, he's looking at us, and then she says a few more things, and then she goes, but he's technically not doing anything wrong. And so I'm just like, these are your labels and your perspectives that he's bad, right? Or we'll say evil here. And it's like, where did you get the idea that a man existing inside of a McDonald's is a bad thing? I'm not going to say that outright, but I inferred it by re-quoting her words right back at her to kind of show that she's painting the picture with her need to label this guy as something, when in reality, dude's existing trying to eat some chicken nuggets, bro. Like,
That's
chill
right.
out.
That's right. Yeah, it goes back to what I was talking about. I guess maybe that not everybody gets that people are just people and they're no different than you are. That's my name when I tried to come up with a name for, streaming and all that stuff.
You changed
Jeff-
my name to Saint Tyler. I just
did.
noticed.
That's
good.
I came up with the Everman idea because I truly believe that
Devil
people are
Tim
just
over here.
people. Sure, there's bad people. Sure, there's good people, but for the most part, people are just people. So to instantly say that guy creeps me out, he's a piece of shit or shady or whatever. I mean, that's not something that everybody does. I mean, I think we all do it to a point, but there comes a point where you don't just automatically assume that somebody is a bad person.
Now, to kind of bring it all back to society, this is a generational issue with our generation and kind of your generation. We're all kind of mixed here.
Timality is always a consideration.
Yeah,
always.
because like you look at like men and women of today, like the priorities that we have are so vastly different than those 60 years ago.
Yeah.
And we look at like we are the helicopter parents that we said we'd never be. We want to sit there and just do the absolute maximum for our kids, and like they're struggling because of it, and we're blaming what?
Right.
Like
right. Well, for me, I grew up in the 80s. So,
right.
From my entire teens to 20 was in the 80s. And the helicopter parent was not a thing then.
Right.
At all. No, we were just
different.
there we go. We got our shit to do. Kids, get out. I mean, we were literally kicked out of the house. Like, you guys go play.
Yeah.
So it was definitely much different.
The stats don't lie. Things are better than they've ever been for a lot of people, and there's a lot of people that are living on the other extreme of that, the bell curve, if you will, as you say, as we get further advanced and we see that bell curve push to the right. Yes, we still have the other side where people suffer. But it's
well, kind of back to what you were talking to earlier, as far as, and I guess it is probably generational when it comes to like doing what you were doing. The reason why you try to give is because what you've been hungry, you know what it's like. And I think that's the mentality of a lot of people. And it probably goes back forever. It's probably not just generational, but if you've never been hungry, if you've never been in the shoes of that other person, then I think you probably, you can sympathize, but you can't empathize. You just don't really get it.
Behavior. Yep. We can study this across things that aren't good and evil. We can study this across like people's spending habits. This is something I've studied more than I care to admit, but like the way people will spend money is different if they've earned it versus if they inherited it. And that's like at a basic, everyone can understand that. But when you actually see the behaviors and how people act, throwing that extra $10,000 around that they inherited, it's wild. Like you just 3 years ago were complaining about how the fact you were, you couldn't eat out, once a month, but now all of a sudden you inherited a bunch of money and are out buying, your fucking friends' haircuts and stuff. Like, you got to know when to, but if they had earned that, it had been a completely different mentality. They would have fought to kind of keep it a little bit more, and but instead we enjoy it sometimes when we can.
Nothing wrong with a perfect example of that is how people spent their COVID checks.
Sure. Yeah.
So
that's funny.
My wife works at Target. When the COVID checks came out,
everybody
was coming in buying big screen TVs and yada yada.
This is a question I ask people often: is how they spent their COVID money and how they handled their spending during COVID.
Yeah, that's telling. That's telling.
Yeah, a lot of people.
You didn't get one?
A lot of people got really into investing, and it was just because they had the extra COVID money sitting around. It's like we've seen.
Yeah, like I said, they didn't earn that money, so it didn't have that attachment.
Mm-hmm. People are more willing to gamble. We see gambling has just exploded since then.
Okay, well, the Dolphins are going to win the Super Bowl. Okay.
Oh.
Okay.
That's why I gamble.
I do hockey, my friend.
So, if I can, Jeff.
Yes.
You've taken a pretty big left turn, and I've come through some of your content here. I'm curious. You said you were 56?
Yep.
56.
Old. Fucking old.
No, I didn't say fucking old. I said 56.
Mhm.
Why? Why are we doing this? What is the question you're trying to answer here? If I can cut that deep, if you don't mind.
Tim's need to label this.
Yeah. Tim
Nope.
needs to label it. No.
I don't.
Well, some of it you might know, but I mean, I had some health problems.
Yeah, it's
Yada,
personal
but
as you want.
it's as much as you would think it would come at that time. It didn't.
Which is what
It's
is
something that
confusing
was-
me. Yeah.
Right. It's something that was in my mind before that, but I guess it is. There's more than one reason. Part of it is the search for meaning, knowing my place outside of my domain, my place beyond this world, I guess, or that's actually not accurate. I'm just having a hard time articulating what I mean. Most of it is 100% just looking for peace and surety that there is something greater than myself, for multiple reasons.
This is
But
helping.
part of it is definitely because I know that I have limited time. Like I said, this is something that I've tossed back and forth. It has come up so many times in my mind. Like I need to do this, and then I just push it back later. And I've reached a point with my age and with my health and all that where I know I'm running out of time to figure this stuff out. So that is part of it. Again, the peace and surety thing is just something that I want for myself, for whatever time I have left.
Is it helping?
Just doing the research is helping.
Interesting.
Just doing the research, just doing the work. And it is another part of it was the fact that, to flip the humility switch off, I had a really great mind that I just totally wasted my entire life. And I've noticed in the last 3, 4, 5 years that is fading quickly. So it was, a lot of this was to just do it now while I still have some plasticity in my brain so I can understand what I'm doing, because I know that that's fading.
You know what you're doing, Tim? Jeff, is you're teaching others. That's really what it's all about. You're teaching others how to get to where you were so that they didn't have to kind of stumble. Now, maybe we're not teaching them the right way, but they're still going to have to stumble on their own. But with your wisdom, they'll be able to stumble through it quicker. And that's really what you leave on. That's like what it all matters for. You can't really, it doesn't matter. Does any of this matter? No. But like on a certain level, like on our societal level, like we lost Tim.
Me? No, I'm here.
Or not Tim.
Hello.
Damn it, Jeff. Sorry, we lost Jeff.
I'm
still
Tim.
staring at Tim.
He's Jeff. Yep.
Yeah. Hi, cutie.
He's so prettier than
Still
I am.
rocking the Oakleys.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay.
I broke half of them.
So I mean, I think that's really what it all matters. You look for meaning in existence, but you unfortunately will never have the ability to look back at it when you're gone to know if it mattered or not. So like the best thing you can do is influence, those around you. And that's like, I guess where I find my meaning is helping other people kind of find comfort and, be who they are. And yeah, really,
that's a big part of what I'm trying to do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I like to tell people that I like to be the Sherpa to help them, find their own journey to their independence, whether it be, however they define that. It's, maybe I have to help them define it, but, helping people have goals is important. And then, teaching people how to get there. I think that's what matters.
Right on. I'm with you.
Oh, he's gone again.
Don't know what the hell's going on.
Hello.
circle real back. I didn't have Jeff's chat up because I was looking at Tim's face, but to go
Why?
back like an hour and a half, utterly demented. So you had made a comment, dude, and I'm sorry I didn't read any of this. Look at the Manson family. Kind of a fun, weird fact. I served with his son. He was one of my leaders, and I told you I have served with some of the most toxic people in the world. That absolutely just sucked, and he did not.
That's crazy, dude. I didn't even know Charles Manson had a son.
He had a whole family, dude. Yeah.
You didn't hear about the Manson family?
I guess, to think about it, I'm sure he had a lot
That
of
was
children.
a crazy statement.
I'm sure, I didn't think that one through.
Yeah, his son changed his name like early because of the whole thing, but like it's very much like a recordable record thing, and it's one of the things that, like, he brings up once you get to know him a little bit. You're like, dude, you kind of tick funny. You're kind of out there, and he's just like, it's, the family humor is his running joke. So once he opens up with you about it, it's just like, okay, cool.
Do you think that was genetic? Does he have some genetic tendency?
No. Of the people so here's where I will
psychopathy?
give him credit. He was able to see red flags that other people weren't. Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense.
He knew what.
Do you think that was his nature, right?
Yeah.
That helped him see it?
Yeah, 100%. How he was raised and the people he was raised around, and like
right.
He saw red flags in other people. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, if you don't walk the shoes, how would you judge? But if you have walked the shoes, like,
right,
what
it's gonna trigger flags.
Yeah.
You're gonna see consistencies.
Yeah, drug addicts know what drug addict behavior looks like. Ex-drug addicts. Like you recognize right away when somebody needs help or when they just need that $10 at the gas station. Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, there's also there's a societal thing where people can recognize psychopathy even though they're not involved in it. It's like a genetic, like a defensive thing, right? Like a psychopath, as most people refer to him as, right? There's people that can just go, that's a fucking psychopath, right? Like, I need to stay away from them, or whatever the case is.
Right.
So there's a little bit of that, which is why I'm interested in the difference between that, because just like an instinctual, like, oh God, right?
I don't know, because look at all the serial killers where their neighbors and their churches, and we're like, he just seemed like just a normal dude.
Well,
I don't think
documented.
that's inherent in everyone.
Those people want to be on TV, dude.
Right. But
my God, I never would have thought that the guy that never left his house for 10 years, right? If you interviewed my neighbors, they'd be like, oh, he hasn't killed somebody?
Maybe there's just more people with an inherent ability to pick up on those vibes, those signals.
Those people probably just needed a better community too, like to kind of bring
serial killers. They just needed a better church.
Well, I mean, if they had people there to kind of keep those relationships or those thoughts processes in check, maybe it wouldn't have gotten as far.
Were they possessed by a demon?
I mean, we all have demons, my friend.
No, I mean, were they possessed by one of Satan's children?
When you're alone, the demons come out. Yeah,
they do. I've seen a demon come out of my wife. It was scary. Oh, back on this. One thing I did want to say.
All my maturity not to make a comment on that.
Yeah, me too. To go back to the original topic of the conversation, I do think there's a difference between sin and evil. I don't think all sins, what are considered sins, are evil.
I think it's all objective.
Yeah, see, I still don't know, because I do think that there are some things that I see as objective bad, as objective evil. Okay, and there are definitely moralists or not moralists. I can't remember the name of the word for them, where they say that there is no such thing as evil.
Murdering kids, slavery, right?
Yeah.
But those things,
even slavery, even not to say that it's not bad. Slavery is 1,000% bad, but you see the motivation for it. It is about money. It is about currency. It is about labor, yada, yada. And to me, there are just some things that I don't see any motivation for other than sadism. So, and maybe that's just a psychology thing, torture, stuff like that.
I would say it is. Because for most people, and this is like a whole nother conversation, but slavery, again, is just a label. Like, we're all slaves to something. You're like, here's where your real problem is, Tim, is you're a slave to the dollar and you hate it, right? You hate that you're a slave to the dollar.
Well, we can say that we are pretty much all indentured servants in one way or another.
To something that you belong to.
I don't know. Can I take a left turn here? Can I jerk the wheel?
Sure.
Jerk it.
So, okay. So I think timeism, futurism, whatever you want to call it, is a really important thing, right? And then ascribing our current moralism to... So somebody kills 1,000 kids in South Africa, right? Because that's the most relatable place where that happens, right? Africa's warlords and they're doing all that kind of stuff. I'm not trying to be anything besides what has happened in the past, right? They just, whatever.
Happens everywhere.
It happens everywhere. It can happen anywhere. There is a reason the person decides to do that. That is their own personal gain. And I don't think that evil, that difference, that decision is really any different than punching the person in front of you at a grocery store so you can get the fuck out of there earlier.
Okay.
Right? So the Bible tells us every sin is the same, right? To bring this back to a religion standpoint, right? So I want to murder 1,000 kids for a reason X. I want to punch Karen for reason X, right? Whatever the case is, that idea of evil is always because somebody wants something from somebody else or is trying to take. I don't think that we can just go killing kids is evil because we've decided that. Because 10,000 years ago, or even 20 years ago, it made sense for this reason. If you really just stop trying to put a Band-Aid on the issue and you really look at the root cause, it is for their own personal gain of
what?
Name it.
I
want to run this country. I want to ruin this country. I want to get this money. I want to make this person look bad.
What if it's simply for the pleasure of inflicting the pain, simply for taking their life?
That's psychopathy.
Right. Okay. So does that make it okay? Does that make it not evil or not bad?
I think that more evil, in the terms that you're using it, is done for personal gain in a reason that's never really known.
1,000%.
Or told, right? Like killing kids is wrong. Well, I've got to kill these kids to make this thing happen so I can rule this country and make this thing good. And they rationalize it.
Right. That's what I was talking about earlier, is that people can rationalize slavery for financial reasons. People rationalize human trafficking for financial reasons.
There's a bunch of people in China that go, building iPhones is the best thing that's ever happened to this family or whatever the case is, right? Like there's 1,000 ways to rationalize it.
Right.
So you
the question is that
you started this whole thing with saying that like killing kids is immutably horrible.
Right. Well, yeah.
Evil.
That doesn't mean people can't rationalize it to themselves. I think there's a difference between objective and subjective evil.
Is there?
Objective and subjective.
That's kind of the point
bad.
I'm trying to make.
No, I think you're. So here's the thing too, is like, to kind of bring it back to my problem is you said kids. Why are you labeling kids? It's just killing. Is killing wrong?
He brought it up.
Well, no, right, but like we're nitpicking as we go down. The root of is killing right or
It's
wrong.
more emotional.
This is actually this is actually a conversation that I've had more than once, where I've been on the other side of the conversation, saying, why is a child's life more valuable than an adult's?
Why would it be?
Right.
Unlived.
Well, I mean, there is that question to be had. For me, it is emotional. It's not a strictly logical conversation, but I think that there is a reason. Well, and you can define
We're all
the
dads
reason
here.
why
We'd all
that
die
is
for
more
somebody.
emotional for us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because we are genetically coded to protect the young. So, I mean, that's really where the emotion for children
No, we're
comes
not.
from.
No, we're not genetically coded to protect the young. We're only genetically coded
Our
to protect young young at all, when we have an abundance of resources that allow it. If not, the human body will abort. We'll leave. Like, you look at history, mothers abandon their childs, fathers run away. Like,
Sure.
Like that is not human nature to take care of the young. It's only human nature to take care of the young if we have the resources to.
There's a reason why people think puppies are cute. There's a reason why people think kittens are cute. There's a reason why people think ugly little old man looking babies are beautiful, because that's genetically encoded in us to protect things that can't protect themselves, because it all goes back to survival. It all goes back to perpetuation of the species.
Civilization is skin deep.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, this is, I'm not going to like start pulling up screen share and stuff like that, but I mean, this has definitely been researched scientifically.
Yeah, but those people are like in the position to appreciate those scenarios. If you
there's always going to be the other side of it. There's always going to be the yang to the yin, and when it comes to survivability, it's like when people say, I would never be a cannibal, I would die of starvation before I would eat another human being. Well, when they got hungry enough, when their personal survival's on the line, just like you mentioned, with people leaving their children or smothering their children because of the lack of resources, that's when that animal instinct comes in, and self-preservation is the strongest animal instinct.
Okay, so when we're looking at animal instincts, are we able to judge good or bad, or is the instinct always correct?
That is 100% a valid question.
Exactly.
100% a valid question, and that's when we look at things that kind of fly directly in the face of self-preservation, like I was talking about earlier. When you do have these murderers and stuff, people that basically know that this goes against their self-preservation, but they act anyway. I think that's when it becomes a question of,
but why are they acting that way?
That's the question. Why?
You have to continue.
It goes directly against your animal instinct of self-preservation. So that was like the original question. When we go back to like the intrusive thoughts, is that something that is just in there, or is that something that it potentially
I don't really
comes from
ascribe
somewhere else?
Morality to this. I think this is a inevitable evolution to perpetuate our species.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Right. Killing in general goes directly against perpetuation of the species.
And I'm going to sound like a big fucking nerd doing this, but Star Wars versus Star Trek, because Jeff and I, we're all Star Wars nerds, right? What is Star Wars? A dystopia. What is Star Trek? A utopia.
Bro, the Empire did nothing wrong.
I'm with you, dude. I'm with you.
Trying to betterment the humanity. And there's just a few fucking clowns out there that want to fight against the process that makes everyone better.
Dude, that's real life. Just you got corrupt leadership at the top, and then the Empire was, I mean, not only were they used by the corrupt leadership, but they were also the police, all the first responders. They're the ones providing healthcare.
Yeah, those are all the angels.
It definitely mirrors real life.
Yeah. And a larger structure service allows you to provide those.
The rebels were terrorists.
The dystopia is the likely outcome, unfortunately, right? But the utopia is what we should all strive for.
100%.
Because we want, right? We're all fathers. I'll say it again, right? We're all fathers. We want better for our kids. And for me, that's why I want to do right by other people, because I want a better life for my child. But I'm 100% sure that not everybody else believes in that.
No, the thing is, I think
And
that
that's
goes
why a
the idea of
dystopia is
utopia.
going to happen.
Yeah, I think
And
that goes
we better
directly
figure out how
against
to light save.
human nature, which that seems like that would lend to self-preservation. The idea of utopia where everybody has the necessities, the basic needs, but we
call
know that will never
socialism
happen
today. Yeah.
because
I love
of
socialism.
human nature, because of greed, gluttony, that sort of thing. So I guess the question there, as far as being on the topic of this stream, is that why is that inherent to human nature? Is that internal? Is that there? If so, it goes against the long-term goal of self-preservation.
Greed is good.
Why is that there? Is it possible that there is an outside influence? So that's why I'm still undecided. That's why we had this conversation, because I don't know. I can't say for sure, because there is that little bit of doubt, that possibility that maybe we are influenced to our destruction intentionally.
Or it's all just autism.
Well, everybody's autistic these days.
No, that's why it's a spectrum, 100%. But like, no, it's all about just, again, the structure that, we can follow that allows us to make less decisions, truly. And, if we, I think we call it religion. I think you can see it in dogs too. Dog acts out, the other dogs to put it back in its place. Is that religion? Is that society? Is it just nature?
You're talking about like the pack mentality thing.
Pack mentality. We're the same thing. We just intellectual enough to give it a time and a place. That's what makes us different.
Well, so what we've learned today so far is that we don't know, and then we don't know that church is good in the sense of community and socialization. What else have we learned so far?
Tyler's a way better person than I can ever be.
St. Tyler, dude. 100% he needs to change his name on all of his streaming platforms. St. Tyler.
He needs to send me a Woot hat too. I'm going to give you my address.
Well, to be honest, when we were getting ready to have this, I immediately thought of Woot. And that's why I sent him a message. I'm like, we're going to have this conversation. You want to join it? Because I think you'd fit into it really well. And I was right. This has been outstanding.
Yeah, I didn't expect this from you. Oh. This is probably going to come off as an insult.
No, that's all right. That's my whole life, right?
I 100% did, but I did expect him to say, I'm a Christian.
No.
And it's interesting. I want to have that conversation with you, whether we do it on a stream sometime or not, as far as the day that changed.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I don't know if it's something you really want to dive into now at 2 hours in, but it's absolutely a story I like to tell. And it's,
well, if you've got the time, let's get into it.
I'm not busy.
All right. Yeah. Well, let me go get a glass of water real quick. And
yeah, I'm going to actually use the restroom. So
grab and go. Make sure my family's doing good.
I got to look at my feet.
Nice.
Okay. There's something here I can do that's like, be right back. Everybody, thank you for watching. I put the link to the backstage. If anybody wants to join the conversation, we're going to take a short break here, but we'll be back soon. How's it being, baby?
I love this song.
I had to get a quick snack.
Ahoy.
Hello?
Hi.
I'm almost done chewing.
Oh, chew it up. Actually.
Yeah, I would love to have had a Catholic hop on and talk about demonic possession and all that shit.
Ooh. That was my preferred church was to go to was Catholics. Been to them all.
Catholic, it's a tough one.
It's black and white.
I've really started looking at Orthodox just because it's interesting to try to figure out, you know, the original church of the first, 1,500 years before the Great Schism. But I'm really more interested in the church the first 500 years, you know, how the prophets actually worship, shit like that.
How could you ever really know?
Yeah, there's the problem, right? So are we back?
Mhm.
All right, let's see if I can figure this out here.
Never done chewing. Jesus.
Can you hear me chewing?
Both of you.
Oh. Yeah, this clearly doesn't have like my sound gates and stuff. That makes sense. Yeah, my bad.
I thought you were typing to him.
Yeah,
like,
same. I don't have a
eat the
noise
fuck-
gate on.
Oh, hello.
All right, we're back.
There we go.
All right, St. Tyler. We're ready.
All right. So I guess a little bit of context in myself that I guess we just touched on a minute ago. Well, growing up, I had mentioned I raised by a village of people, which kind of opened up a weird opportunity. I never really stayed at one church for too long, and I've experienced pretty much, and if you can name it, I've been there. All the way to like, just from your hardcore St. Mary's, all the way to, your Southern Baptist, which it would be just a completely different, group of individuals, but like still the same moral guidance. It's just kind of like the rule set that they had subscribed to is slightly interpreted differently. And I think that would be your ultimate flaw of man, right? Is our ability to interpret rules differently. So that being said, my religion to myself, if I had to pick one, I was Catholic. That's what you'd see on my dog tags. And I always went to church. If I had to choose, it would be that one, just because things were black and white. It was real simple for me to kind of follow. Nothing really ever challenged my mindset on religion too. Like even when I first joined the army, basic training, whatever you want to call what I did, nothing really challenging there. The maybe the people I was working with were challenging who I was, but the message was still the same. It was still church. Nothing was really different. And then I deployed. And the exact day is June 13th. If I can't remember the exact year, if you wanted me to like really break it down, I could figure it out. But I was driving down the road. And a lot of the conversations we've had today, we talk about society and societal norms. Societal norms there were different. And the way they treat kids are different. They're not killing kids, but they do believe that kids were there for their own physical pleasure, to just leave it lightly.
Yep.
And that's something that they aren't shy about. Middle of the road, doesn't matter. It's just normal, and it's just a different place. Okay, and I'm not saying that everywhere in Afghanistan is like that, because it's not true. But it is the society that they lived in that allowed that, because it's a norm. This is the first time I was ever challenged, like mentally, on like Christianity as a whole, and it really full stop hit me. I'm like, if what I believe in is that things like this shouldn't be a thing and it shouldn't be possible to be a thing, why would it be allowed to exist? And that was the thought that just kind of made it all crumble. That made me lose my own faith. Now, I can still like respect the things that the church has done for me growing up, like kind of built into like who I am, with like the, just how I can help people, or how I approach any, one given situation. But for me to believe a story that there's, supposed to be like all this for everybody, or, just like, how can we let a place like that exist? And that even then comes down to, are we using, are we oppressing other societies because they want this type of thing? There's a fine line to it, and we cross it all the time. And there's other times we don't, or we should. But I think that's, objective even still. But that was just like a hard day for me to swallow that pill anymore. To be like, if a God exists, how could I possibly watch a kid stand here with no pants on, clearly suffering the way he is? Like how could that exist? And I just, from that point forward, I couldn't have faith. That was it for me.
I don't know how somebody, there's 1,000 stories like that.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. It's not exactly over yet. Now, here's where, if you're into this type of thing, like if you believe in signs, a sign from God, if you would, maybe it's a thing. I had that thought at the top of a mountain. I was sitting there. I wrote a whole poem about it. It's been published. It's not my greatest work. I was kind of annoyed that it even went out, because somebody submitted it for me when I didn't want it to be. But I wrote about it. Like in that moment, it just kind of felt like something that I needed to put down. And then we got back in the vehicles and we started driving back to base, drove down the mountain, got back on the main Highway 1. And then I took an 82 millimeter rocket to the side of my door. And then I took another one. Yeah. And people got like really fucked up in my truck. And, I saved some people's lives. And that day is actually a big credit for where I am today. The people's lives I saved that day took care of me in ways that put me in positions in front of people that I should have never been in, way out of my societal reach, my class, my anything. And those people gave me opportunities. And it just kind of is one of those things like, was that a sign? Was that like, God being like, yo, I got you? I don't believe so. But like, you put that shit down in a story and that moves people. You switch a couple little details here and there, and you can make that a thing people could rally around to really believe in more. And that's what like it's really all about. It's all about just these stories that kind of make people see your way. Because the stories that they were telling, over there, it's not the same stories I would want to hear. It's not the things that I agree with. It's the way they treat people there was different. It was wrong. But it was that. And so it's just hard for me to like kind of wrap my head around that it all belongs. But at the same time, you see things like, you have these thoughts, and then a couple minutes later, someone tries to slap you upside the head. Was that a sign? Oh,
I'm glad this isn't my podcast.
yeah, that'll leave the door open for a future conversation. But it's just, you know,
I'm sorry. So 2 RPGs?
yeah.
Jesus.
Yeah, it wasn't a RPG though. It's a 82 millimeter recoilless rifle round. So it's just a.
My bad. Sorry.
It's a bigger thing. It's the
It's bigger.
Yeah, it's the equivalent of taking a mortar shell to your side door. It comes
Yeah,
in.
dude, there's so many different ways that you could
Yeah, deal with that,
Could
Jeff. Good luck.
take that. There's so many different ways that you could
Right. I mean, and that's just
could
my
spin that for
perspective on the
yourself.
day, right?
Right.
That's just how I saw it. What about the guys in the back of the truck? I'm the only one who looked left and saw the rocket or the rocket come. Nobody
Mhm.
else did. I had the voice, the noise that came out of my voice was, and it had already hit the door. Like it was fast. You don't get, but I will tell you, I can live that moment frame by frame, for lack of a better word. And it was the slowest moment in my life. There was so much adrenaline pumping through me that my entire world was in slow motion. And it's something that you can't really relate to unless you've really found flow at some point in your life. Like some people do it in sports, like that moment, like if you played like baseball and you were able to like focus in on that baseball for half a second and just like really hit like 100-mile-an-hour pitch. It's that moment. But I had it for 2 minutes, and God, what that does to your body is wild. Like, but it's also, you know, it was kind of I don't want to say once in a lifetime, but I never want to be in the position where I feel that level of stress again, where my body just was so hyper alert.
You lost your religion at that moment.
Oh, that whole day. Yeah. Was gone. Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting how you put that because you
same guy in my truck though.
You lost your religion
Mhm.
when you saw, sounds like a kid being assaulted
I saw
in
it
the street, which is that's insane to me, and I'm glad I've never seen anything like that.
Wait, hang on. Same guy in your truck. What?
So yeah, same guy in my truck would credit God at the fact that we're all alive. And that
that's what I'm saying. It seems like you could spin that a lot of different
100%.
ways.
You know, it's all about where if you need to credit something, like that's how you would do it, right? You'd say, well, it was because
this is God saying, I'm still, hey, don't give up on me, Tyler. I'm still here.
Right. If you know, but
or you could see it as this is God saying this is punishment for dropping me. So yeah, dude, that's a mind fuck.
And
or it could have just been the right time at the wrong moment, you know?
Tyler just went, nope, doesn't matter. I could have died.
Well,
could have gone right through the door.
So the only reason we got shot at was because one of our trucks had blown an axle and we were dragging it at 15 miles an hour and we were prime opportunity targets. Does that have anything to do with the fact that I lost my faith that day? I don't believe in like butterfly effect and like, you know, I believe shit happens. Like, yeah, because you poured a glass of water, like a bunch of bad things could happen. But like, you know, like did that truck break down because Tyler needed to learn a lesson? No fucking chance. Like,
did that truck break down because something bad was going to happen and Tyler needed to be there to save some lives?
Yeah, the truck would have never, if the truck had never broken down, they would have never been there to shoot us at the same time.
Right. Or they were going to shoot somebody else.
Eventually they would. Yes. Yeah. Because all they did was they went and dug it up and then literally set it up on the side of the road. And then as we drove in front of the tree line, they engaged.
Yeah. Yeah. They could have shot a softer target and killed a bunch of people, but instead the rounds got used on you guys and everybody lived.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. It's crazy how it's almost impossible to work that out. I mean,
you got to go further back then. Like, why were the rounds even there in the first place? Well, the Russians were there in the 90s.
Yeah.
And that's what we got.
We're about to have a nihilism podcast right here.
It just keeps going back. Like, there's a million reasons.
Or a predestination versus free will podcast.
Yeah, I think
big cans of worms.
It's, you know, and that's a hard day for me to look back at, but at the same time, it's one of the most like freeing moments I've ever had. Where,
right,
not that I was ever somebody to like let the church kind of tell me and steer me. I was the worst of the worst, but I believed in going. And
now, was there any time before that, before you lost your faith, where you saw things and was like, "That's God right there"?
Like in a good way, you mean?
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, but I never believed that like anything happened because of God's will, but I believe that it was like, again, it was just more like I was too young to really appreciate it at the time, but you know, opportunities again, like the community was really it. Like, and I don't believe that that doesn't like that doesn't exist naturally. Like something had to bring it together. We had to have that leader, and we just labeled it God, and then that was the thing that kind of brought everybody together.
Yeah,
You know, like
that's the foundation for religion, the idea behind it,
yeah,
bringing everybody together.
ideas are very powerful, right? But you have to have something move them.
I had that moment when I was in 10th grade. I went on a mission trip, and I had that moment where I thought this was God. You know, I'd seen it in this instance, and I thought it changed me, and it did for quite some time until I had a moment. Well, I can't just say that I had a moment like Tyler, but you know, I had a moment where everything kind of fell apart for me too. Um, but I had those. I had a couple of moments where I was doing mission work and helping other people and doing service, and I went, "Oh my God, I think I saw it." Right? There was just this moment. There's this glimpse. It's, you know, the moment you think you have it in your hand, it fluttered away. It's really hard to describe. If you wanted me to describe it to you, I couldn't. Right? But if I think about it deeply, I can kind of get that sensation, and then I immediately go, how foolish is that?
Why? How foolish is that?
No, I love where you're at right here. So I have the same, I don't know, manifestation idea that, or not idea, but like right now, what we're trying to even do it as ourselves, but like what religion kind of did for people, or what we all try to do is put it in like, and I keep saying label, but you know, you see an idea floating out there, and you just want to grab it, and you just want to like, you know, it's there, and you can't quite do it until you label it, and you can kind of,
you can't define it, you can't grab it, you can't touch it, it's intangible.
Sure.
But it's right there, but you can't.
Sure. And if that's God, then yeah, I know what that is, and I would say that I know God, but I can't touch that. But I would also say that that's like, to me, that's not like, if you want to label it that way, that's fine. And like, sure, you could say that I've done it that way, and I wouldn't disagree with you. But to me, that's not what it is. And it's just.
But is it possible that it is?
For some people.
For some people? I mean, I don't
that's
think that's
just how they want to label it in that moment. And it's
right.
Just, you know, that's how it helps them like grab that idea for a moment. But even if I believe in God, I can still see it, and I still want to like, I know that it's not that, it's something else. It's there, and I want to fucking grab it and hold it and hug it and have it. And I'm never going to be allowed to. That like, I have accepted it. Like I've stared at it like in my own meditation, and just knowing that it's there, and it's not for me. It's just, you know, you get moments of that, like getting it, but it's not religion. It's like going to church on a Sunday doesn't help you find that.
No.
Yeah, no, see, to be clear, I think that belief in God and religion, with what religion is, the structure of religion and all that, I think that those can be two separate things. I think that they can be separated. I think religions come from basically labeling what God is all about. That's what I think religions are.
An interpretation.
Yeah. I mean, then that's why there's so many different ones. I think that thing that you're talking about, I've said before, I'm fucking old. I have seen multiple things over my life where I was like, and as not a Christian, as not really a believer, as very agnostic, where I was like, you only see coincidence so many times before you start to question, is it really coincidence? And there's lots of times where I was like, that had to be divine intervention of some kind. But then as you go on and you question it, that just kind of falls by the wayside. I'll give you guys an example. I've been overweight really since I quit working a physical. I had a very high physically demanding job for 25 years. Once I stopped working in the field and doing that, I consistently gained weight, and I got up to 283 pounds at 5'9". Struggled with that. I've never ever really got the motivation to lose the weight,
I was about there.
and then I did, and then I dropped 100 pounds. I was about 200 pounds when I had my heart attack. If I wouldn't have lost that weight, I would be dead.
Yeah.
So I actually had a couple of them. So it's like you look at that and go, what made me say, now's the time? This is it, after however long of not doing it. But it was, well, I had no idea. I found out shit about my heart that I had no idea. I thought I was solid, 100% solid. So it was like a switch flipped. And I literally went from, it wasn't gradual. One day, that is it. I'm not eating more than 1,500 calories a day, period. And I started exercising and all that. It just suddenly I had that motivation. Like I said, even when it happened, there were no like previous symptoms or anything like that. My doctor's visits, my blood pressure wasn't that high, yada, yada, yada. And then this happens, and I go in and I find out my, one of the arteries in my heart, the circumflex artery that comes over the top, is like 90% blocked and all this shit. I had no idea. I didn't have high blood pressure or anything. So that's just one example where you look at it and go, seems really weird, seems really coincidental, but you can put manifestation. You could say that in my mind, that my mind knew that my body was fucked up and was like, okay, now it's time for you to lose weight. So it's hard to, I think, especially the way we think, the way that we question everything. I think when we see that, when we have that feeling, like I was talking about when I started crying in church at 12 years old and had no idea what I was crying about, or when we see something like that and we feel that, I think it's natural for us to reject it because it's strange. And we can't fully explain it to ourselves, and we can't grab a hold of it and hold it in our hand and look at it. That peace and surety that I was talking about before, that is a big part of that. I've met people, and I'm very envious of people who have that, who feel like that they did grab a hold of it and pull it inside of them. So how real that is for us, I don't know yet. But I mean, honestly, that's part of what I'm searching for, to be able to grab that and hug it and hold it inside of me. I hope I get there. I really do. But I do know, for me to do that myself, I have to dig those roots. I have to go step by step and, find these beliefs that I have that I'm sure that I won't question myself, because I think that's the biggest part of it. I think anything that you believe, if you don't be honest with yourself and truly have that belief without question, it's going to fall apart eventually. Anyway, sorry, I didn't mean to just start ranting and raving.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
I mean, self-reflection is, I think the ultimate guidance tool. If you can properly reflect on it, feels like that's what you're trying to do. There's a lot to digest, especially as an individual, as things that you kind of grow and as challenge kind of, define who you are. And you get to that's kind of like the human nature, is or the humanity of it is you get to decide if how much it's going to let it affect you, or really, is it now something that defines you? Am I going to let this, am I going to have a bad day? It's my choice if this is going to be the thing that lets me have a bad day. Generally, that's
right.
Yeah.
And I just think, perspective bias is a thing, period. Mm-hmm. You can't avoid it. I think that's probably the hardest part of it, is trying to set that aside, trying to sort out what's true and what you want to be true. And you automatically question, you question the truth, or at least I do. I always have. That's why I'm kind of where I am. I think it's important to be honest. And I think it's important to know that your perspective bias can reject things that are probably true or could be true, but you just sort of reject them because of past experiences, because of
yes,
your perspective.
I think that this is a completely different conversation, but I truly do believe that that's the greater purpose of higher education is learning to recognize a bias, even if you and we fail at it today, but like having critical thinking and being able to like understand the situation that you're in. Generally, like that's why we specialize into things like through college, and we find a way to better understand ourselves in that space. And then with that comes the wisdom that I better understand, molecular engineering more than, Tim does, but Tim has a better understanding on something else. And that's why I have to, bow to his wisdom on it. And I don't think you get there without having like a prolonged curiosity towards things. And that's, that's important. I think
I'm a great chef in Star Wars Galaxies. Thank you.
Whatever
I
you
think
bring
on
to the
that,
table.
Yeah.
when I did start doing this, I was like, I can figure this all out for myself. I'll basically just absorb everything that I can and sort it out. And
Streaming?
I've found, yes, that too.
Oh, religion.
Yes,
The
religion.
Yeah,
Religion.
sorry.
The
Yeah,
study. Yeah. I found that I want to talk to other people, that I want to get their perspectives.
Yeah, man, because if you keep talking to yourself about the things, right, you start believing your own rationalizations, which is a default that I've been falling into, right? And you have snapped me out of a couple of times. Hey man, do this. Hey man, do that. You've been a really good friend, and I'm not trying to use this. You got me a little emotional with your story you just told me, so you'll have to forgive me. But yeah, if community is important, regardless of evil or whatever we were actually trying to talk about in this podcast or anything like that,
I think having sounding boards is good. Getting other perspectives is good. That's the only way that you can understand, and honoring those and trusting. I don't want to just talk to everybody. There's certain people I want to talk to.
Yeah, isolation is
torture.
Awful. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a reason people in what is it, in prison?
Societies.
No.
Black sheep people all the time, man.
No, when they put them in a cell by themselves, I can't think of the word. Yeah, there's a reason people in isolation go crazy.
Right, but we do it to groups all the time. Like it's we're terrible at it. Like,
we do it to ourselves. Thank you, internet.
We do.
I mean, the internet. If everybody, I think the idea was that it was going to be a proxy for actual, societal interaction, and it's really just isolated everybody.
Right. If you wanted to find 5 people that wanted to dress up as a stormtrooper and reenact the Boston Tea Party, right, you could find those people, right? So the idea of the internet was inclusion, but it really started kind of segregating everybody.
It became a replacement instead of augmenting. It became a replacement.
That's way
I will say, I think the problem that the internet's missing, and this is like I'm not trying to say like the hot take version of this is the right way to go, but the problem with the internet is that it's anonymous, and that like we found our group, right? And we can have like these crazy hot anonymous takes. But like the 3 of us are much more accountable right now because our faces are, our voices here. And like, we're not going to just say some of the wildest things that we possibly could for the sake of attention.
Okay.
Have you watched me and Tim stream?
Yeah.
No,
hold my beer, buddy. Hold my beer.
I don't think right now I'm talking to Tim Allen. I think I'm talking to Tim. And I don't think you guys realized like I'm not Woot. Like Woot is, you guys got Tyler today. Woot's a character I play while I stream, where I play the most like extreme version of my personality.
Eric. Yeah, and I'm open about that, right? My name's Eric, right? When I'm Eric, I'm Eric, and then when I'm Tim Allen, I'm Tim Allen, right? We all have that. Yeah, absolutely.
Well, the problem for me, the difference is I'm Jeff and I'm Jeff. I mean,
I think that's why a lot of people relate to you.
I don't really have a character, but
yeah, that's why that's why you're not a Twitch partner.
Yeah, probably.
No,
I
was
can't
RP.
Without I can't be somebody besides me.
Yeah, no,
I
like
think
without 100%.
without like a hook that people can really like relate to the worst parts of themselves in like a good way. You lack the ability to really take off and hit large scale like success in this realm. I will say, like, your approach to how you did this here in a small town, your business, top fucking tier. Nobody's questioning you. You need something, call Jeff. He's got it covered. Like, that's just it. But like when you're on the platform as large as something like this, it's you can't be anything but a character. Not everyone.
I don't have a super dynamic personality, and again, that's me. In real
I
life.
don't do it anymore, to be honest. Right? I don't do it anymore either.
I do.
I mean, me and Tim actually sat down for a meal. Was I any different than what I am here?
No. A little bit, actually.
How so?
You were.
I want to know for real.
You were less sociable, actually.
Dude, it is. That's 100. That's accurate. I'm surprised you noticed that. But yeah, that's accurate.
You guys like IRL met up?
Yeah. I talked to his wife more than I talked to him.
For sure. So no, I got this. So I do this all the time. I've met so many of my other fellow streamer friends, especially through like through the Blizzard partner program. I was able to go to BlizzCon and meet all my friends. No, but like that was actually the best part, right? Was I was getting to meet all of the people I've been hanging out with for like the last years. And the people's personalities are absolutely different, but then like that it's in there and they're just not comfortable enough to let it out. And they're just probably intimidated by how good looking you were, Tim. That's just all it is. But
no,
like,
that's what it was.
Honestly, I felt bad. I was like, man, like our relationship's great on Discord and talking to each other and streaming all that kind of stuff. And I felt like maybe I pressed it too much because I go to the Indy 500 every year, right? Nice. I was like, hey, I'm gonna be in the city, right? I'll be there. Like, let me take you and the wife out to dinner or whatever. And it was.
Mm-hmm.
No, it was 100%, dude. I got the same feeling from you, even just in the way that you carried yourself and all that. It didn't have the self-confidence that I expected, especially for
really
this big freaking dude. No, you kind of walked a little bit like this, and I actually gave you the little bit of bro hug, and you're like, oh, we're doing that. So no, I mean, I think actually that's both fair. Of us just sort of went like this,
socially awkward. Yeah.
If we would have hung out for another hour or 2 hours, probably it would have.
You guys needed a couple beers.
Switched. Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, this is. I don't think what you guys experienced is abnormal. That's just like old friends meeting up for the first time and they really haven't come across each other. You guys won't know him, but like, so my old moderator, if you guys remember, Salty Potato, I've known him for 30 years. He's lived near me for 8. That was awkward as fuck. The first time I went to go see him was right after I got back from my Iraq deployment. I said, hey, bro. Or no, Afghanistan. I said, hey, bro, I'm looking for a job. Can you help me out? And he's like, you want to come up for an interview? So I flew up to New Jersey. He picked me up at the train station and he was like, let's go. And he drove me right to his work. And it was
awkward as fuck.
It kind of was.
Yeah, that's fair.
I had seen one picture of him prior to that. So like, I didn't know what to get in. And so like, he pulls up in this fucking little beater with a heater, fucking window down. And he's just like, hey, bro, hop in. And as soon as I heard that voice, I knew. Now, he was an awkward fucking panda all fucking weekend. He really was. The only time he wasn't awkward was when we were both on our computers sitting side by side, because that's where he's comfortable with me.
Yeah.
Now I exhaust him and we hang out all the time, but like I'm also the way he gets out and like, gets his social isms out. And he, I would be a worse person without him, truly. But like it was a weird time.
Well, this is a perfect example of what we were talking about earlier, the difference between online social interaction and in real life social interaction. If this was someone that you had that experience before, it would have gone through the same progression. There's that awkward, kind of getting to know you part, and then you jive.
Yeah.
So even though you had known this guy for however long and had however many interactions, there is definitely a difference in real life to online social interaction.
Most people are nicer in person.
Right. Yeah. More themselves because they're. But
I would argue the opposite. I think people are more true to their own nature online.
Yeah. I think people definitely open up maybe some doors that they wouldn't.
Sorry, I guess maybe not true to their nature, but more willing to explore their own personal thoughts and beliefs online.
Yes, that's 100% for me.
Yeah.
I mean, like
actually, I have studies on this.
I am definitely way more social. I was
people are
very
more willing to tell their
antisocial forever.
Their medical history than their own doctor. Yep. I was launching a product so I was working with a German company trying to launch a device to medical deserts where women could get tested for HPV without a battery source or anything like that. Just like a basic thing. The number one problem they have is getting people to report it. It has nothing to do because there's no battery, right? So it doesn't like automatically ping data up to the cloud and like tell anybody that, like, hey, this person's positive. They get it. Then people get the tests, they take them, and then they couldn't get them to do the next step because nobody wants to do it. And the company's like entire core belief was we will not collect data. And so, I'm just sitting there like, you're dead in the water. Someone else is going to do it. Like, you got an idea, but like, we'll see.
Right. There's definitely some constraints that aren't there online, of course.
So actually what it comes down to is the amount of time you spend in proximity to any one object is how comfortable you become with it, like the actual psychology behind it. So somebody who spends their entire day with their phone in their pocket, their phone in their hand, right? They take their phone onto the toilet, into the shower, they take their, into the car with them. The things that they will do with their phone, truly, they love their phone at this point. Like you talk about people being married. At this point, we just go marry your phone. Like, you spend all your time with it.
This didn't try to take half.
Well, yeah. It does. It takes it slowly, month after month, but that's a different argument.
Oh, that's a good question. How much money do you spend on your phone?
We're going from
during your lifetime
to how much we spend on our phone.
Phones are evil, man.
How are you going to make this YouTube make sense?
It's not. We've wandered so much, but I don't care because I think this has been an outstanding conversation regardless.
Yeah, agreed. What do you want to know about my phone?
No, I don't want to know about your phone. Okay. No, but think about it. What your divorce cost you? Do you think you'll spend that much on your phone for service and any other ways that you spend money on your phone?
Divorce cost me? I had a prenup. I ain't no bitch, buddy.
You mentioned the phone didn't take half, but it's taking money from you every month.
It's the society we live in.
Maybe that's why dating's so bad, because everybody spends all their dating money on their phone.
Is paying for my phone. So how much? Let's not talk about this.
Okay. Do they limit your? Never mind. I was going to go somewhere way off where we should be.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, to that, I think we've had an awesome conversation that went. I expected you guys to be dipping out after like an hour, and we're at 2 hours and 42 minutes. Seems like it's flown by.
Fruition. Yeah, it's been an absolute blast. I love chatting with people. Always love a platform.
Yep.
I'm just kind of disappointed. His name's Tyler.
Sorry, bud.
I think it 100% fits. I mean, I think you'd look like a Tyler.
Now without the hat and the blonde hair and the blue eyes and the.
I'm just a little weirded out that he's almost 40.
Yeah, dude. My wife's so retarded everywhere we go. You should see her too. She is 40, and it's a life we got for sure.
Your wife does like the whole
thank God.
She like sings or what was that? What was that thing?
She's evolved, dude. She's pianoing now. Full on. We actually just got our kid who's behind us over there a drum set this week. They're both like they have that musical
you had like a thing. I'm sorry, Jeff. You had a thing where like she would play the flute or like
the ukulele.
Yeah.
So she went from like ukulele to guitar to like a couple other like oddball instruments, and now I literally was like, I'm gonna buy her a piano. She touched it and was like, oh, I know what I'm doing, and now she can play the piano.
Wow,
really?
Yeah. We got her into lessons. She works with like people, and like even people are like, we're not here to like tell you how to do it. You're doing it. You do all of the things correctly. She's just there for guidance to kind of get it. My kid's the same way with the drums and percussion and stuff. He's in a marching band. And the school we're at has a really COVID, right? It had really weird sized band. And so like you see my kid running around playing all the percussion stuff. And I know that's kind of like normal for percussion kids to be able to do it, but like he's got it too. When you see it, you're like, talent for sure. And I think that's like, it's just one of the more common talents that we see in humans. But it's incredible when you have it. I don't have it like at all.
I don't know how common it is, dude. I had I was a musician for a long
Musician.
time, and I had to work for every little bit of it.
Yeah.
So, and there's no way I could play piano.
I feel the same way. So I started with piano, and then I went to other instruments, and I never felt talented with any of it. And I felt stressed out. My parents wanted me to be talented with it.
Mhm.
And I'm like, okay, so I suck at piano. I'm good at guitar. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. The drums, viola, I did all this.
Yeah. It's, I think that,
That's an amazing thing.
you have to be in the right mind space to be able to, like, accept that you're doing something and kind of submit to the process of learning it. I don't think that their talent came from just those couple things. I think there was other things that kind of like,
I don't ever want to talk to this person again.
Sparked it. No, I think if you would have spent the time, you would have realized, though, Tim, that you were probably better than already 70% of the people out there.
I just want my dad to tell me he loves me.
No, I do think that some people have a natural proclivity towards it, and
no, I never felt
other people have to work harder.
You see people that have they just go ba 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 ba, and you're like, what the fuck?
Your instrument's different though, dude. You've got it here. You have to acknowledge that you do. You can speak better than most. Your instrument is just your body, and you're more in tune with this instrument than most people could ever be. Your ability to speak and talk to people, engage with people, that's a gift from God that people would kill for. And I don't even
wait. That's a gift from where?
Right. I like the expression, but you know what I'm saying? Like, that's just not. You can put a bunch of salesmen in a room, and like everybody in that room is a salesman, but nobody else in that building is. Everybody else is a fucking awkward turtle, and you've got it. You can turn it on. You can find that person in the crowd who doesn't feel connected. You can point at them and connect them in that moment. And that is something that other people can't do. And that's why people are attracted to you as an individual, as a content creator. Like, you've got it, and that's like your instrument. That's you. You've taken time to refine that. You weren't born with it. You saw things in other people and emulated it to come up with a version of yourself that you were so comfortable with, other people found it attractive. That's something that people want, and you have it. So, I mean, kudos. That's something that, it's hard.
Saint Tyler.
I never want to talk to you again.
Yeah.
I don't know how to respond to that. Thank you.
Just take it for what it is. I think he's right.
It's we grew up here in America. This is the worst part of it, is we only focus on our deficits. I met a Professor McCormick when I was going to college. I sat down with him one day after talking to him one class, and I said, hey, I'm here because I think you're going to be the one to challenge me to look at my strengths and focus on that, and not so much the deficits that I can't improve on, because if I'm always focusing on improving what I'm not good at, I'm never going to be great at anything. And I want to be great at something. And so if I can be great at something and then grow from there, that's better than trying to, just do that. So what I'm focusing on is my strengths now, and not like in a hubris way. Like, you still have to absolutely acknowledge your weaknesses and, know when to focus on those. But, if you don't give yourself that, hey, attaboy, you did a good job, it doesn't feel as good, when you're just always pissing on yourself. That hurts.
That's tough for some of us.
Yeah.
So you got a lot of wisdom for such a young cat, dude.
Thanks, man.
I like it.
He just lost weight. He's not that young.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Yeah. I'm still looking for that thing that I'm great.
Can we end this podcast so I can fucking cry in a corner?
Great.
Yeah, we can actually. I'm going to let you guys go. Thank you so much for hanging out with me and having this conversation. I hope we do it again. I think
anytime.
Absolute pleasure.
This was outstanding. Everybody watching, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.